Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I had to delay by 15 minutes. I actually had all the timing right. I was like, oh, you know what? Actually going to stream right at 11 like I had initially planned. But my boy Savage Land News came out with a spoiler video. I didn't know much about it. Didn't know much at all. I knew he had one, obviously, but then all of a sudden it got scheduled for today at 11. I could not contain my excitement. So I had to watch that. If you all haven't seen it, let's just like run it real quick, honestly, because it is so insanely funny. So insanely funny. It's quick. 1 second. But if you haven't seen it, Savage Land News got the first community given spoiler, at least, for Bright Lights. Of course, there's been a couple spoilers anyway that have come out from some of the articles. But Savage Land News, Nathan Dolman himself, got the first of the community spoiler season, which is so sick. I mean, it's a brute card, obviously. I think this is still part of the early spoilers. You know, like this is similar to where they sent out like the Anthem of Spring type of cards, like those hero specializations to tease the United We Stand. Like all the Unity stuff that was going on in Dusk Till Dawn, how that came out early because it was its own kind of story arc. I think that's what's happening now with these early spoilers, because obviously this isn't the whole season. This is a little bit of, you know, what the other heroes are up to, since it's a pure mech set. We've got Brute, obviously Illusionist, obviously Warrior and Assassin, all the way up to kind of the kickoff reveal of, I would assume, the new Dash with Max Ferocity. So once this comes to a close, real spoiler season should go out. I haven't gotten an email or anything. Nathan, yeah, dude, Nathan's so OP. He did such a good job too. I haven't gotten an email or anything for the normal spoiler season, but honestly, if I don't get a spoiler this season, I think that's totally fair. I don't do anything with mech. I don't really like mech. So let other people have fun. Not gonna lie. I would love to do like a little quirky video or something, but I feel like if they were going to send me something, it'd be probably just a filler card, because what am I going to do to like really pump the fanfare for like a mech card? So I'm excited though, because there are a lot of mech fans, and there are going to be just a lot of people excited for the set. Us Levia players, I think since we're not a part of this thing, we're not going to get a Levia card. That's fine. I mean, this isn't a supplemental set. We weren't really expecting anything for Brute, and we're at least getting like this one card. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Could be some generic anti-mech support in the set, like a smashing good time. Well, Levia, well, Brute in general actually, has better access to item disruption than any of the generic classes. I mean, we already had Arg Smash, right? Arg Smash was kind of the go-to, especially if you were trying to slow down in your sideboard and just fatigue out a dash. This card was insane. And then we have a brand new card as well. So let's watch this video real quick. Check this out. Oops.
A giant, hideous young brute, roaming endlessly to quench his never-ending bloodthirst. On the last episode, we witnessed the young creature rise up and claim his rightful place as the alpha of the savage lands. But as the brute's natural food sources dry up, he is forced to look elsewhere for a challenge. The city of Metrix, vast and full of wonder. A very, very dangerous place for a simple jungle-dwelling creature like our brute here. Exhausted from his journey, the brute must regain his strength. As the sun
If you didn't go like the original video, by the way, go ahead, click that freaking like button. It is so well done. I love this video.
begins to rise, the brute goes on the hunt, immediately spotting a weak mechanologist prized for the taking. The people from Metrix have never seen anything quite like this. 6 after 6, their precious items crumble before their eyes. Panic ensues. The crowd scream and run for their leaders, demanding action. Their leader, fearing for his citizens' safety, bans dice in the city of Metrix. A total lockdown occurs, and our young brute is caught up in the fray. Brutes, strong as they may be, are nothing without their dice. Can this horrifying creature survive?
No. Ape God, show me what to do.
Fear not, my child, for there is a weapon hidden in the Ape Temple. Go there and claim your destiny.
With no dice, a migration effort like this will likely be fatal. On the verge of starvation, the brute reaches the temple steps. Having reached his ancestors' homeland and claiming his new weapon, no one can stand in his way. God help us all.
No dice, not a problem.
Whoa, calm down, Nathan. All right. That video, 10 out of 10. Shout out Nathan Dolman, Savage Land News. What a way to wake up to the day. This teases a lot for the future. I'm going to restart the music. For the future of Brutes, because we are still without our Savage Lands set, right? Hasn't happened. We're running out of sets to go through. You know, we've seen now all the way up to Metrix, so we're missing Mysteria, Savage Lands, and then also the undisclosed region that Brian Gottlieb mentioned was his favorite region in Wraith, and yet we just don't know what it is. My guess is still the Abyssal Depths on that. Let's see, where can we see the map? Just to recap, there's like this little it's kind of like a Charybdis type thing up in the top of the map. I'm pretty convinced that that's like a portal to some underwater region, the Abyssal Depths. Anyway, not important. What we're focusing on here, Smashing Performance. This card, once again, references the death match, right? Which we saw Numbskull mention the death match in Dusk Till Dawn with that wonderful flavor text. Now we've got new ones. The scent of blood, the roar of the crowd, the enemies beneath your mace, all bear witness to the rise of a new champion, Cox, Deathmatch Fight Master. So that's now two generic brute cards that are referencing the death match. So I think it's pretty obvious that the death match is probably the upcoming Savage Land set. I don't know if it's the next set, but I think at this point we've definitely seen more hints towards that than the perhaps like Transcendence Mysteria set. There was one reference towards that. Now there's two references towards Deathmatch. Just saying. Also, I think it's really cool in this art. You see a little bit more of the Deathmatch arena, and it does look to be definitely like more set in the Savage Lands, like something a bit more primal than just like, oh, this is, you know, a fight pit, in Metrix or something. The Savage Lands itself has this, right? This could be the deathmatch. I don't know. It's kind of like massive to consider that this entire arena, but definitely some similarities there in aesthetic, right? Just like kind of some bone pillars, big circular thing. Anyway. Smashing Performance is a yellow 3-cost 6 non-block, baby. We're back. When this attacks, draw a card, then discard a random card. If a card with 6 or more is discarded this way, destroy a random item in the arena. I think this card is actually... Excuse me. Also, let me turn the music down a tiny bit. Let's bring it down there, perhaps. Why does it sound so loud? This card, I think, for your kind of generic aggro brute plan, feels really good. Because when you're playing an aggressive brute, slamming wild rides, pulpings, do you really want to add Arg Smash into that type of list? Not really. It completely changes how you're trying to play the game plan. How you're trying to play your game plan of just slamming big hands, making sure that you're putting your opponent on the back foot. Hell, if they want to develop an item, then they're going to have to take damage for it, right? Because you, in theory, are this aggressive brute throwing 12 a turn, whatever it is. So now you get to keep up that momentum. A play line that was totally fine prior with like a pulping, right, was leading with a pulping, and then leading into a pulping into like a riled up this type of line was fine because you could actually lead the play with like a pulping, pitching a blue with a wild ride already in hand, hoping that if you draw another blue, you can convert that at minimum to like claw, 6 damage. If you draw at minimum another yellow and keep the wild ride, then you can convert that to 13 damage. It's actually 1 point higher because now the wild up comes in for 7. Ooh, tongue twister today. So this is like a very similar card in that vein where you can make those same aggro plays and then follow up rather with not 1 more damage, but instead the ability to destroy a random item. Granted, there are going to be a lot more items coming out in Bright Lights. So are you always going to hit something really high value? That probably changes, right? That probably starts to shift. All the items that are hitting the board are probably not just like the 2-costers that Dash is, paying for. So it maybe loses some value there, sure. But it's really cool in that you get to execute like an aggressive game plan and still interact a little bit with the item board. Very cool. I think this card's great. Is it good for Levia, though? I'm not super convinced on that one. Not super convinced that it's better than pivoting into like an Arg Smash, or if you even want to run it. Generally, if Levia really cared about the Dash matchup and you wanted to tech for it, because a lot of your sideboard slots go towards other cards that block, it was actually pretty possible to just shift into a full blockout strategy against a Dash. I don't know, that wasn't really a thing that anyone's done recently. This was like a pre-Dusk Till Dawn bit. You had 1 sideboard slot extra anyway because you didn't run the Demi Hero. So I wonder how much Levia will care about teching for Dash going forward. The Arc Smash plan was fine. I don't think I ever lost to a Dash in an event when I brought that kind of strat because no one's expecting a Levia to just like hard pivot to boring ass fatigue. It is really boring to play that way for one. So if Levia all of a sudden brings this in instead and is trying to play for her own aggression, also disrupting the board a bit, then maybe this is kind of the tipping point and pushes Levia into actually wanting to run the full suite of the early game aggro package, Wild Ride, and Pulping, rather than just using Pulping as a sideboard piece. I don't know. I don't like quite immediately see it as like needing to be in Levia right now, but we also don't know how impactful Mech's going to be, right? Also, apologies. I'm sniffling a little bit. I did just have COVID. If you remember back on last week's streams, I was feeling like really strange on Wednesday. And then when we took the COVID test on Friday, it was COVID. My weekend was tough. Started feeling a little bit better on Monday, but then Sandra, my partner, she got COVID, obviously, right after. So we still have just been basically having a nonstop sick week because I was sick and then she was sick. So even though I was feeling better, it's not like we could go out and do anything. So yeah, still probably needed to get outside a little bit more, feeling sniffly. But yeah, should have blocked. Oh, we can't have it all. We can't have it all. We're mere brutes, you know? We're not given everything. I do think this card's fine, though. It really is fine. If it blocked, then you probably just, like... I don't know. If it blocked, do you ever run Arg Smash anymore? Unless you're actually on, like, hard fatigue? I think that might have been too much. If this blocked and Brute had access to Arg Smash, you could literally just say, I never ever lose to Mech, because now you'd have, like, so many plays that were disrupting items that really, like, don't cost you much. They're yellows that block 3. There's, like, no cost in putting that stuff in your deck. So, I think it's fine. It's fine here. This is, like, a real disruptive piece. Brute doesn't really get this. It's not a hit effect, which is almost better in a way. You just play this sucker. I mean, you have to discard the 6, sure. But discard the 6 and then boom. You just 2-card 6, which is fine. And then potentially also broke a 2-cost item in play. It's like actually pushing quite a bit beyond what we've seen out of normal Brute cards value-wise. Especially for like the Rhinar half of the equation, right? Fogdown Warmongers exist, so they're not fully opposed to it. In terms of having, what, 2 cards that do the same thing? Yeah. Okay, but today is actually not about all this. I definitely wanted to go over it a bit. I only saw it with the reveal with everyone else. Pretty stoked, though. Pretty stoked. Remember, go smash that like button. This video was so freaking funny. BBC and LSS hire this man. I think BBC is the one that with like David Attenborough, right? Or is that National Geographic? I don't know. Someone will get my comment. Okay. I'm going to add in a very special guest to the stream today because Levia finally placed the highest, the closest, the just damn this close to the top that she's ever been to taking down one of these bigger events. Levia is still only a hero that's taken down like ProQuest and Road to Nats. That's it. That's all she's done. All her living legend points come from that. But she was one game away. Closest she's ever been. One game away from winning the Irish Nats. And granted, this was a 32-player event, but I've been to Ireland. I've seen these players. And I know for one, Dylan, who did win the whole thing, is an insane player. The skill is quite high. So I'm not going to discredit the fact it was a smaller event. Let's look at the fact that this was truly the closest that we've been to tasting those sweet, sweet 10 living legend points or whatever was on the docket. This close, one game. So we're going to get Dean in here. Dean, the man who did it, to go over his tournament. And funny enough, there isn't a deck to go over because he played exactly the same deck that Team Runaways played at Cincinnati. The deck that I built for Pat, like that first deck where I was like, Pat, I wish I could stream this event, or I wish I could play this event, but I'm streaming it. So here, you take it and you do well. And then he made top 8 with like that day one deck that I then picked apart and changed a billion times. Man, maybe I should have just stopped. I should have just not touched it. The deck was apparently perfect because Dean took that exact deck. I don't think a single card changed. We'll review it. But he took that exact deck, the day one brew, and got second in Ireland. So let me ping him real quick. Get him in here. We did have this planned. Yo. You ready? How crazy is that, though? I feel like this proves the mania that Fino had tried to talk to me about in testing with the whole behind-the-scenes like Levia process of I am just like a manic deck builder. It's like, okay, this idea was great. I put 250 games in. It's not good enough. Like, whoa, buddy. What are you talking about? That's fine. You know, don't reinvent the wheel here. The deck's obviously good. We proved it. Oh, this deck, we had 3 top 8s back to back. The deck's not good enough. Like, whoa, 3 top 8s is actually pretty good. Chill. So definitely I have a problem there. And Dean has proven it to me. This freaking guy, he did it. Okay, he's ready. Let's add him in. Add him in. One second. I'm doing all this live. Yo.
Hey, Ethan.
Hey, Dean. 1 second. Let me fiddle with some settings here. You know, the cost of doing everything live. Do you have a face cam, though?
I do indeed. Not used to popping me on face cam on, but here we go. We'll do it for the stream.
It's beautiful. You got a nice background.
Yeah, a few fab posters represent.
All right, let me also... I can start my own virtual camera, so you can at least see what I see. I can't give you the direct face cam feed because it goes through OBS, you know?
Yeah, that's fine.
There we go. That should be fine. This... Where did my little Fino button, my Fino thing go? Oh, here it is. There he is, everyone. Everyone say hello. We've got Dean, is it Flanagan?
Flanagan, yeah, that's bang on, yeah.
That is the most beautiful Irish name I've ever... Like, it is wonderful. Dean Flanagan. Straight out of a storybook from my POV. It's awesome. And just like your storybook run, dude. Congratulations for getting second at Irish Nationals. Tell everyone a little bit about who you are, your history with Flesh and Blood here. Did I actually meet you as well when I was in Ireland that one time with Dylan?
I don't think we've met before. I think you were, you probably played in Gamers. I don't make it down on Tuesdays too often, just with work and stuff. But I think I just missed you, yeah. But which is a shame. It would have been nice, obviously, to add to the story here. But yeah, I'm Dean Flanagan, as Ethan said. I've been playing Fab for a little while. Former Magic player, sometimes still play Magic, but Flesh and Blood pulled me in, mainly thanks to the community. So I want to say big shout out to the Irish community. You're all awesome, and it was a great event. Irish Nationals was an awesome experience. I had a lot of fun. It was a long day, but it was a really fun day. So shout out to all the guys who probably watching right now. But
Yeah,
I
we've
know
got
talking about it on the Discord anyway.
yeah, Dylan at least is in the chat. He's always hanging around. That kid's great.
yeah.
He said that he was actually the person who tipped you towards playing Levia, right? Because you're mostly an Azuri player, is that right?
Yeah, so I've
Yeah.
been kind of mixing and matching for a while. I formerly was playing Oldham. We like to not talk about that, pretend that didn't happen. But I was on Oldham for the longest time, kind of a diehard Guardian player. And I've been kind of mixing it up for a while. I've been playing a bit of Bravo, a bit of Azuri, and trying to figure out what I wanted to play. And they just started playing Levia for fun. I think I played one game with the transformation thing. And shout out to Ian Holland, I think, lent me the deck, so to try it out, and I played it, and I was like, this is insanely fun. It's all the things I like about Brute, being big, chunky, but you have all those big, heavy attacks coming in. So it was a lot of fun. But I remember talking with Dylan just coming up to the event, and I was like, oh, I don't know, do I have the reps on Azuri? I don't have as many reps on Levia. He's like, oh, well, you find it more fun. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm sold. If I'm gonna have to play this for a whole day, like, I may as well play something that I'm having fun with and I enjoy. So
You think
yeah,
Dylan was being honest, or he was trying to jab you? Oh, play Levia because that's a much better Lexi matchup. I mean, if you played Azuri, you probably win that final, Dean. Just saying.
well, you got to get to the final first. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, but he definitely pushed me towards it, all right. And it was a solid pick in the end. One of the main reasons I was going for Levia was we have a lot of Dromais in Dublin, so it's and not just Dublin but Ireland, so it's a very Dromai heavy meta, and the Azuri matchup is it's not the best into a lot of dragons. It turns out assassins kill people, they don't kill big lizards. So well,
Not even
Levia's
fake
not-
lizards, apparently.
Not even fake
stuff out
lizards. Yeah, the illusions, they just trick us, and the daggers go nowhere. But Levia's matchup is great into Dromai, so I was kind of banking on that, but not exactly how the day went. I don't think I played a single Dromai.
No. So I'm trying to build the graphic real quick for us because you had a really strange tournament run. It was so funky when you sent me the matchups. So let me pull that up real quick. So let's walk it through real quick because the format of these 32 player events, right, is 9 rounds. Like it's always 9 rounds, right? The 3cc, 3 draft, 3cc.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. So you had to play 6 CC rounds still, which is massive. And then, of course, pad it a little bit with your draft experience. So let's walk through those rounds real quick. They were pretty funky. So how did the day start?
So it was pretty good start. We got there. We started pretty early in Underworld Gaming. Shout out to Underworld Gaming and JP, who was working there on the day and pretty much set up everything for the Fab event. So. But the first match of the day was Dory, which, as I said earlier, I don't have the reps that you or some of the guys might have on Levia. I'm relatively new to Levia, so round 1 was Dory, and my opponent was really good. They were really friendly. It was a great game. It was a really fun game. I think they were a little bit new, a little bit nerves. I think everyone's nerves on the first round, so.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a closer game than I would have liked, but it was good. We got the win in the end, round 1 against Dorinthia. Dawnblade is scary when you have cards that can't block.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, that can be super rough. So it was then just a Dawnblade Dorinthia. Their game plan was keep hands, like force reactions, get counters. That's how they were playing it?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. Just try and build up the counters and force value of the counters, yeah.
Yeah, generally that can be, especially a newer Dorinthia, that can tend to feel like a better matchup than you think initially, because like you said, with non-blocks, it feels risky to go into, well, I can't respect every turn. Good God, if that's like the glistening turn, like what can you do? But Dorinthia still takes time to like ramp up into better trades because, base weapon being 3, all her pumps realistically hitting only 3 themselves, you do just outpace that. Sometimes like pretty immediately, right? You drop a Dread Screamer turn into Graveling or like an Endless turn, you're pumping like way better small hand value than they are. So if the Dorinthia like never catches their stride, then you just do better math, can still have a pivot with the Carrion Husk. So well done, well executed, because the games can spiral. They definitely can. But you cinched the win, and then you had a round 2. That was pretty similar, right?
Yeah, some would say anyway. So round 2 was again into Dorinthia. So Saber Dorinthia again, Dawnblade. Very good player. I've played them before. John. I think the last time I played John, it was an Oldham Dash matchup. So it was a long time ago. I think it might have actually been the last Irish Nats or something similar. But it was a very fun game. It was really close. Got him down to 1 in the end, but just couldn't push it through. I think it was a blue shy of a Blood Rush turn coming in for the second claw. But unfortunately died to Blood Death. I think the linchpin turn was I was on around 17 life and came in for 6 on a Dawnblade, dominated. And I was looking at my hand, and I knew I had the reprise trigger, the Iron Song response in hand. So I was like, okay, so I don't block, take 6, don't transform. I do block, I take 6, I don't transform. So that one was a loss, unfortunately, but it was a really good game. It was really close. I think if I was to change something up, I probably dumped my Husk a little early to try and stop us going from 2 to 3 Dawnblade counters, just to try and deny that and like keep it back under control, which it felt like the right decision at the time, but maybe I should have just focused on my setup for later. But who knows, I could have maybe not denied those counters, and it could have bit me in the ass afterwards. So
yeah, that's already a terrifying amount of counters. Some would just give up in that position, so to keep fighting, very valiant. But generally, right, if you can protect the flip there, do you think that would have been the difference maker then? I
think so. I think, being able to play stuff from Banished is just so powerful with Levia. It's like you go from hoping that you draw into something with kind of go again, or having to rely on scab skins, to, okay, I have set up cards in my graveyard that I know I'm going to recycle and use later on. Getting your Dread Screamers out early and getting them banished early is just key. If you're sitting on Dread Screamers, Graveling Growls, and Endless Maws in your banished zone, and you can just take those back later on, that's pretty much how you usually clean up games, in my experience. It's just you come in and you smash people with way more value than they can anticipate, because you're just reusing all of your best cards constantly.
So, exactly. If you played the first Endless Maw, it's coming back, baby.
Oh yeah.
And you love playing the first one. You're gonna love playing the second one. Yeah, insanely strong. So tight loss, but you're not down and out at this point. Had you done the math, like, was X2 always safe, or you needed your second loss to be late in the day?
X2 was in on a bubble, essentially. So you could get in on tiebreakers. So no, I wasn't too confident. I was especially I was worried a little bit about the draft. You've been to Ireland, so you've seen that we don't exactly have the most product all of the time. It can be quite difficult for us to get product and to run draft. So a lot of us don't have much draft experience whatsoever. I remember we went to Antwerp there recently for the big event calling and stuff, and even some of us for practice were just, oh, they have product here, let's buy some Monarch. I think Ian bought a box of Monarch, and we all just started drafting there for the experience, like, while we could. So I was worried about the draft, and I figured I needed to pick up as many reps as I could in CC, to kind of like inflate my odds a little bit. So yeah, it was a little bit shook by it. Obviously would have preferred to take the first 2 round wins. I think everybody would, but if I've learned anything from playing Fab in these events, it's just you kind of have to stick with it, and you have to just kind of keep pushing and push through.
It's great. It's great to have a loss where you can actually like look back and learn from a play mistake. I relish those moments in Levia, because you don't get a ton of losses where you can really go back and pick apart learning moments. Because sometimes it's a variance loss, right? Sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah.
But when you have an actual loss of, like you're saying, maybe it was my Husk use. Like maybe if I shifted that around, you can go deep on those decision trees and like really try to learn and fix things for next time. So I appreciate like the real losses like this early because it gets your brain churning. You're not tilted. These losses you should not feel bad about. They're actually the great ones because you can bounce back. Because sure enough, your round 3, once again, looked pretty similar, right?
Yeah, so if anybody can guess in the chat, round 3 was again pretty similar. We had Dorinthia once more. So you can imagine my experience. I came in hoping to just clean up on all of the Dromai players. It's quite an easy and nice matchup for Levia, and getting back to back Dorinthia was not what I was expecting whatsoever. Now there was some variation. This Dorinthia was on axes, or not axes, the big
great axe. Yeah.
Decimator, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
So, not sure if it was to do with We Make Best or popularizing it lately, or if there's some reason why Decimator is growing in popularity. But it was a Decimator axe build. So, I think it's not as scary as Dawnblade. Definitely the counters are scarier, but early on, they were off to a roll. I'm talking like back-to-back 12, 8 dominate turns, first 3-4 turns. I think at one point I was on 29 life and I hadn't scratched them yet. They were just blocking so efficiently and coming in with these big turns. I'm looking at the life totals and thinking, oh man, better start hitting them soon. This is getting bad. But again, Levia just outvalues it. We got a huge setup. What came in clutch, actually, I'm obligated to give a shout out to my friend Connor Javert. Gave me a Blasphemous token. Card market let me down. So without that, I wouldn't have been able to actually clutch the win. I managed to bring Blasphemous onto the board and just it extended out the chain. It was really good. I was keeping an eye on the Blood Debt, trying to get it up to at least 6, play out the Blasphemous. I was sitting on it in Arsenal. And it just let me keep going wide enough with my chains that I was able to close out the game pretty efficiently. So
I'm embarrassed now. I should have somehow gotten a Blasphemous full art token to you. I passed those out willy-nilly. I don't think I left a stack of them with Dylan, but that was a miss on my end. I'll have to, in Barcelona or something, I'll definitely get you one.
I'll hit you up. I'll hit you up.
But so once you got Blasphemous out though, did you find yourself leaning into scab skins at that point, or you were just naturally hitting the go again with Art of War Dread, or did you kind of use that as your go card?
So the Dread Screamers were kind of like setting me up pretty big. I think I only rolled scab skins twice that game. Both times though it paid off huge. I think I got for a 4, so 2 action points, and 6 and 3 action points. Though I didn't even really need the 6. It was just for the go again, but I could have took it or left it. It was just to see if I could just go that extra bit wider.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I was to say my opponent's only mistake was probably not killing Blasphemous. But it's a bit of an ask with the axe, the Decimator, because you're wasting a pump to try and get the axe big enough and then come in and kill Blasphemous. But I think they thought, oh, you know what, I'm just going to smash face. It's been working all game. I think that was the main way that I won, just having access to 0 for 6 at the end of a chain.
So good.
It's huge.
So good. Yeah, it is tough for that deck to clear Blasmo because generally they only run 3 direct answers. It's the Sharpened Steel, which they'll run like 3 red. I mean, it's not like the blue does anything. So they need specifically like that 2-card hand to pump the axe, swing to kill. Because otherwise, like if they're using any other pump, like a Felling Swing, that's a 3-card hand all of a sudden to kill the Blasmo. If you've got the Blasmo out, that's a 12 damage turn. And their game plan is not to just eat that damage, right? So you can definitely snowball in that matchup pretty easily with Blasmo. He feels so good. So did you, you mentioned trying to ramp up the 6 Blood Debt for Blasmo early. Did you end up using Consumed or Redeemed at all that game? Or he was just kind of the tipping point and you won from there?
I'll be honest, in all of my games as Levia, I don't think I have transformed into Redeemed once. I think Consumed is, even though we all like the Dommy mommy energy and the artwork is crazy, I guess it's tentacles all the way. We're going full Japanese. Consumed is just a way better transformation in my opinion. But it suits my playstyle better. I like to play very aggressively. When I played Guardian before, I used to play Oldhim wrong, as everybody would tell me. I was on the aggro build of Oldhim, even when it wasn't a thing. I loved my my E strikes, and I loved coming in for big hits. So that's what I like about Levia, is coming in with those big, you can't ignore me turns. You know, I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to hit you hard. People say, are there any on hits? And I say, no, but there's a lot of them. So
Hmm.
so that's the kind of the key thing. The Blasphemous was just, it was nice. I just saw where it was going, where I was losing too much life early, and I figured I'm gonna need to be pushing at least 12 every turn to try and get back here, which is very easy to do with
Hmm.
Levia. Your good turns, or even your average turns, your consistent turns look like about 12 damage. So you want to be kind of pushing 12 to 18 plus, and just really punishing your opponent and forcing that kind of tempo where they're forced to block, and it makes up for those turns where maybe you don't draw so well and can only really throw out a 6. But if you're sitting on an 18 life lead, and you don't really care too much, and it doesn't really help your opponent at all. So
So even in this game, I'm curious, because if your opponent tried to slow down and fatigue at some point, did you still risk flipping to Blasmo, even though the like mill condition is there, or you used it just to win the game, or it just didn't come up with too much blood debt?
it just didn't come up with too much blood debt. Like I said
Okay.
early on, I was like being kind of forced to block a lot, so I was getting my yard filled, but I wasn't playing many banish cards. And what was unfortunate was a lot of my banish cards were being used to block, like in situations I could have 2 Dreadwood Rumblers in hand and maybe a Boneyard Marauder, and so, well, I guess the Boneyard Marauder is going to be blocking this turn.
Sure.
So
Okay.
so it didn't come up too much. I think I was like struggling to get up to the 6 blood debt, but I was like, if I could just get there, I have this chain extender, and we're looking at just being able to go 3 cards wide probably each turn they're on. So
Sweet.
no, the mill wasn't too bad. It wasn't too much of an issue at all.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess that really comes down to how much life was early traded, because I feel like in that matchup, going consumed is pretty much just asking to mill out. You just don't take that much damage if the Dory's playing super defensive. And so then by the time you get to where like, oh, consume could work out here, your blood debt's at like freaking 10 plus. So that makes sense. The pace of this game was a bit different. So then you moved over into the draft rounds, right? And
Correct.
I think were you going in like slanted more towards wanting to draft Levia, or you were just ready to draft your seat? Did you have any strategy?
So uh, everyone in the Irish community is going to call me a liar if I say anything different. But yeah, I'm one of those people that maybe decides what hero I want to play before I go into the draft.
Sure.
Now, like I said, we don't have tons of draft experience, but I was keeping an open mind. I probably wanted to avoid Chain. Chain is very popular, so I could see a lot of people picking him, and maybe Bolton as well. But I was open-minded. I just wanted to see what I could get, and I guess the stars aligned. And some of the cards that passed to me early, a lot of generic 6+ powers.
Hell yeah.
I got the Smash of Big Trees. I think first within my first like 3 or 4 picks, I had 2 Smash of Big Trees. I got 4 Dread Screamers, and okay,
Oh
we're
my
off to
god.
a roll here. So my opponent to my right later on, I found out, was on Bolton, but they opened a V for the Vanguard first pack, so I was getting all the Levia cards that side. Opponent to my left, I think, was Prism, so I was getting all of the Levia cards that side. So early on, I was able to get all the key picks that you were looking for, and I picked up a couple of Zealous Beltings and stuff like that. So I had a nice package, and the idea was to just go ahead and try and body some Prisms and outvalue everybody else. So it was good. You could say I probably just forced Levia for the day. I think that makes a better story. I went in committed to play Levia no matter
Yeah.
what.
Hey,
So
look, it works out. Most people they really shy away because they'll play her, have a miserable experience, and just say, man, she sucks. She
yeah,
doesn't suck. We all know that. It's about the reps on her limited playstyle in particular that really ramp up like the skill expression that she has in that format, I think, because
yeah,
it really can feel like a shit show if you go in and just kind of play your cards. That is not how you're going to win with Levia. It's not going to play like Prism. It's not going to play like Bolton. Yeah, I mean, it's a shadow here, right? So there's that risk reward that like Chain balances, but Chain can at least make like the hedge plays of, okay, like I keep my blues, I flip, and like I'll construct the turn from then on. Levia needs to construct your turn like literally from, well, for one, deck building, obviously everyone's there. But from the second you drop your hand, like, there's 3 choices for off the bat, like where you need to look for blocking, what you need to look for arsenal, what kind of card quality did I draw up versus what's in the deck? Like, how do I need to play aggression? But good God, the playing limited Levia is its own beast, and I love it. Like, I'll force Levia just because I think the games are more interesting when you play Levia. She is beautiful, a beautiful hero in limited. And I'm glad you
It's
went that
definitely
route.
the most fun of all the Monarch heroes, in my opinion. When you're playing limited Levia, if you haven't done it already, definitely try Force Levia. It's very fun, way more rewarding, I think, than some of the other heroes in limited for Monarch. But it was very fun. It was a really good experience. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was great getting to main the big girl.
Yeah,
for
the Purple
full
Queen all
9.
day. Exactly.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be a
so-
story if you played Prism for 3 rounds. Come on, dude.
Yeah, who plays Prism these days? Huh?
So then how did those rounds end up? 4, 5, 6.
So the first round 4 was against a Prism player, a very good player, but like I said, the deck was kind of skewed towards being able to prey on Prism a little bit, so I picked up the W against Prism in round 4. Again, once the tempo just started coming in, I got hit with a few blinding beams, which were timed perfectly, but it still wasn't enough. Just I think the Prism matchup for a well-constructed limited deck for Levia it's really tough. It was obviously a heavily favored matchup for me. Round 5 was against Bolton. Again, a good friend of mine. And I got absolutely whopped by Bolton. Got a nourishing emptiness quite early, and the gas never stopped from then. So I think I got absolutely massacred in round 5.
Oh no. So there's your
By
second loss. Like, at this point,
Yeah.
kind of early. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying.
It was definitely worrying. At this point, I was, I think earlier on I had said going to the draft, oh, well, maybe I'll just draft Tarmogoyf if you, I don't know if you played a lot of
Yeah,
Magic before,
I
but
know
you know
the expression.
stories.
Yeah.
It was first edition packs, like, maybe I'll pull a cold foil husk and that'll be my win for the day. But yeah,
Because
the
they were
second
also
loss,
stamped first ed, right? Even
they weren't stamped actually. I think that outside of US they weren't stamped, is what I was told. But,
okay.
maybe they just told that to us Irish players. But no, it was just first ed, I think. But even still, first ed Monarch was, was
Oh yeah. Pull
pick
those
up, like,
gold foils.
yeah, I think one of the guys pulled a library, so big win for Stephen McKeever either way.
Woo.
So, yeah, so it was I wouldn't say tilting, but it was definitely I think once you get the second loss and you know that you have to kind of bubble in on tiebreakers, you're worried. You're thinking, okay, well, look, any wins after this or any result after this is kind of good. My goal for coming to the event was just the top 8, and I've kind of consistently managed to top 8 a lot of these events in Ireland. So, with the idea of just constantly getting better, is just wanting to at least maintain that level and make sure that I'm not coming short or falling short. But one thing that Fab has taught me, which is great, is I think coming from Magic, there's a lot of unwinnable matchups, more or less, where you play the game and you're trying to dodge matchups all of the time. My deck just loses to this, it wins against this, and then you come to Fab and you have, unfortunately, that kind of mindset a little bit, so you kind of get a little bit tilted by your losses. But Fab has kind of shown me, like, as Gorganian's tone video stated, it is a fighting game. It's all about pushing through, maintaining that mental. It's all about the mental game as well as this physical brawl that your heroes are
Absolutely.
doing. So really being able to hold on to that and push through, I think, was key in this event. I could have obviously just dropped for the draft. They gave us an option to drop, and we would just get our packs and said, oh, if you're going to drop beforehand. And I was looking like, oh, I'm not going to win 3 rounds of draft, probably even 2 rounds of draft, but we'll play it out. We'll see how it goes. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, there were this especially happened at US Nationals. The way the days worked out, right, it was 4 rounds of CC, then 3 rounds of draft, and then 3 rounds of draft day 2, 4 rounds of CC again. There were so many people. I knew multiple people who were like XO in CC, but then they went 1-2 in draft, and then they just dropped. Like, man, screw this. Like, I'm gonna miss playing in the calling just to like try to play day 2 and go 1-2 in draft again. I'm out. I'm outie.
Yeah.
So at least you were spared from like that kind of that feeling, because the people who like tank draft in like the 2-day events like that, man, that's like a brain worm right there. They spiraled and felt awful. But I mean, it's okay.
Yeah,
You had a legit loss against the Bolton decks that are juiced up, like you were saying. They can just be the boogeyman of this limited format. I think Bolton is one of those heroes where if they find the bombs, the power level just becomes a little bit uncomparable in format. But, you know, as they do have to play well to get there. You know, they do need to find windows to charge up their soul, find the bad rate to then pull off the bigger turn. So it's not like there was no interaction in the game, which is fine.
Oh yeah, it definitely like Bolton can be very strong in limited, but Connor McGrath is a very good player. So it was definitely as he would say a skill issue. He rolled me. It's the only way to put it. So.
Okay.
But we pushed on anyway. In round 6, we got another Prism, which I was very happy to see.
There you go. Yeah.
And Prism, we picked up the win there. Obviously, against Prism, it's like I said, it's heavily skewed in Levia's favor. Weirdly enough, it turned into a bit more of a grindy game, just kind of relying on the meat axe value. We blocked a lot with our poppers, and just the way the card draw came, it was weird. I ended up having to block with a lot of cards I wanted to keep. So I was just kind of relying on the meat axe and grinding out value a lot of the time, and we got a lot of go wide turns. I think if there was anything key about the limited deck, we had such a huge ability to go wide, and people were just expecting one big attack, but we were constantly chaining Dread Screamers, Zealous Beltings, and following up with a meat axe, or even sometimes if
that is an insane curve. That's so good.
It's so good. It feels so good, especially when the meat axe comes in for 5. You know, threatening like 10 damage in a turn. It's insane. It's so good, and it really catches people off guard. So, wasn't a conventional game by any means. Wasn't just swing for face and get him. It was really just grinding out with the meat axe, but it paid off, and we got the win there. So I was really happy with the draft experience overall. It's probably my best draft to date, and I would have come in not so confident for Monarch draft, and I think before picking up Levia, probably wasn't very happy about having to play Monarch draft, because these were just 4 heroes I didn't play and didn't really understand what I should be doing with them. So, but it was good. It was a fun experience. Like I said, it was the Nationals was great. It was a really fun event, and the draft experience was really good. So after the 6 rounds, I was really happy. I did not think I was going to make it in on tiebreakers. I think I talked to one of my friends, Brian. He was judging for the event, and he said to me, "Watch, I have my money that you're coming 9th." So.
Wait, sorry. So it was then top cut right after that. It was 6 rounds, then top cut. I thought it was 3-3.
Well, it was,
okay.
Yeah, 3 CC, 3
I see.
Draft, and then it was straight into the top 8.
Oh wow. Okay.
We didn't get 4 rounds for CC for whatever reason. The event was capped at 32 players, probably because the last year or so we didn't actually have as big of a community. Now the community has grown insanely. We could have probably filled out another 15, maybe 20 places for this event. So hopefully LSS are watching. I know they do watch. We might be able to get that cap raised, obviously, next year.
Well, so you need to raise the cap, but then you also need to deport Dylan, because it doesn't matter how many people are in the room. That kid's just going to win it, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised you guys are still friends. He's like keeping Levia back, you know? I thought you guys were homies, so...
Well, look, Dylan's about to drop Lexi for Dash again. I know. He's coming back to a happy place, and for that, we'll be friends again. I hate it when he meta slaves. I want him just on Dash. Play the heroes.
Honestly, I think we all just thought that buying the New Horizons was the most expensive psyop he's ever performed. But no, he's a really good player, very good, probably the best in Ireland, without a doubt. It's definitely terrifying playing against him. There's a lot of people here that will assume the loss going into a round against him, but I was eager to play him in the finals. You know, it's very good.
I'm actually undefeated into Dylan. Just just to flex.
Oh, really?
Just-
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Just
That's
saying.
funny. He never brought that up.
He's just
have
he's just a kid.
conversation.
Just beat him up. Take his lunch money. It's easy. It's easy.
True fab spirit.
But I am very much looking forward. Dylan, you're in the chat right now. Are you going to Barcelona? It'd be sick to hang again. That's where we really got to hang out, was in Lille at Pro Tour. It was super fun. But there we go. So actually, this loss in round 5 is not as bad, knowing that it was only 6 rounds before Top Cut. I thought you had to then win out like 4. But a loss in round 5 then is the second best tiebreaker you could have in theory in the X2. So I would feel pretty good for your chances then. And sure enough, you did make top 8. So do you know your spot? Were you like 7th or 8th or something?
I think I was 6th.
6th, okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, 6th. Any of the guys who might remember can feel free to put me on blast if I've elevated my position there a little bit, but I think it was 6th, yeah.
Sweet. So do you remember the entirety of that top cut? Like how it broke down?
My own matches, or you mean the full top?
Just
8?
the full top 8, like what you were looking at.
I know there was 2 Dromai players, Stephen McKeever and Justin. You'll have to excuse me, Justin. I actually don't know your second name. I think it was first time meeting you. Dylan obviously on Lexi. We had another friend of mine, Jacob, who was on Azalea. Another Lexi. Connor was on Lexi. So I'm not sure if I've covered the full 8 there now.
That is, we are 1 short because you were on Levia as
I
well.
was on Levia. Oh, and Ryan Porter, who was on, I believe, Briar.
A Briar. Okay, yeah. Good thing they didn't win. They don't need to waste any more LL points.
Yeah, we everyone else needs them, not so much Briar. He's normally a Viscerai player. Actually, he's our former national champ. So very bad form that I forgot there. But
oh, wait, we're actually.
Viscerai.
What the hell happened? We're missing one more. I thought I counted. We're at 7. So there's 2 Dromai, 2 Lexi, and Azalea, a Briar, a Lexi, or a Levia rather. Let's see. Chat is saying it was a Briar. All right, then what was the 8th? We'll fill it in as it gets there. But either way, you've got 2 Dromai in the bracket, which is what you were kind of looking for. It's why you picked
Really hoping for it, yeah.
Levia over Azuri, right? Oh, 3 Lexi. Okay, I think that's my bad. You probably said that. Let me add
No,
this.
I think I forgot. There's so many Lexis, it's hard to count. But
There we go, triple Lexi.
oh yeah, that's correct. Sorry, that was Dylan's. I think first match. It was a Lexi mirror. So.
Okay, so how do you feel looking at that top 8? Because that's half the bracket are these Rangers, which I know me personally, I absolutely hate. I detest the Lexi matchup because, I mean, we all know this. Levia has no hit effects, right? So the only time you can really make your opponent interact is when you present lethal. So Lexi kind of just gets to play a perfect game into Levia. And Lexi's a pretty skill expressive hero. So when the player is high quality and playing their deck perfectly and missing like 0 points of value, then their deck is terrifying. Their deck is insane. Like you're kind of hoping that they don't play it perfectly for Levia to have a shot into the end game where you can force trades down, force them to block down because you're presenting lethal, and then play a real game. But to get there is an absolute nightmare. I do not enjoy the matchup at all. But how do you feel?
Into Lexi specifically, it's very tough. I think this was probably the only change in the sideboard guide that we had discussed briefly. Is I take out the Grasp of Darkness and I just go with the Gamblers. I find the Grasp value, like you said, into very good Lexi players. They play around it. It feels bad to get caught with a Rain Razors when you try to use it to block efficiently. I think you just need to take Gamblers and you just need to just try and kill them, get them dead.
Get them dead? That's a good strat.
Just get them, you know. Ian always says to me, it doesn't matter when their life's at 0, just get them. So sometimes that's pretty much your only option. You can't grind out a value game. Eventually, they're going to see their 3 of a kinds. They're going to see their Rain Razors. They'll set up bigger turns. You just need to present a lot of damage and abuse the fact that they might not want to block. They might just want to race you as well, and we'll just duke it out. We'll see who wins. Clash of the Titans. But it's a very, very tough matchup. most Lexi players know what they're doing. They've been playing a lot of reps on it in preparation for these big events, and particularly in our local scene, I know the Lexi players are quite good. They're very capable. I tried playing a bit of Lexi coming up to the event, but it wasn't for me.
Mhm.
I don't like how the deck plays. I'm not a big fan of its style, and I like having a weapon. So that's a big reason. So unfortunately, I probably spelled my own doom because I sold Dylan the New Horizons that he would
Oh
later
no.
use to end Levia's streak. He put it to very good use. But yeah, looking at this top eight, a little bit worried about the Lexis. Not so much with Azalea. Azalea can have big whiff turns. Obviously very strong, but there's some turns where Azalea just doesn't perform. I played a lot of Azalea. One of my friends, Brendan, he's been on Azalea since day one when we started Fab, so I kind of know what to expect. I know the deck pretty well and the hero pretty well.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
Dromai's given
you
them to
also
me.
have really decent play into their strongest arrow generally is Red in the Ledger, and you can just play Endless Maw.
Yeah.
Like, cool, I'm just ready. Arsenal this sucker, play out the Endless Maw. The Dread Screamer that you turned off in hand just goes to your new arsenal, and you can kind of just play through a lot of that. So, yeah, generally,
Exactly.
I think the Azalea matchup is pretty fine as long as they don't just roll you with the perfect triple pump arrow dominate, triple pump arrow dominate. That can
Well,
be
I think
where.
the only arrow you really have to be worried about is Sleep Dart.
Oh,
Um,
yep. Which can
Sleep
help.
Dart.
Which can help, by the way. I mean,
True.
you get hit on the right turn. It's like, okay, I'll play Dread Screamer and still flip this turn. Sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Sick.
That's true, actually. Yeah, it can come in clutch like that. Usually, they'll like to save them till you're already transformed, though, and that can be
Yep.
the
Oh,
kicker.
that's tough.
That's when it stings. Like, so yeah, good Ranger players, if they're listening, you save your sleep darts until the transformation. Don't throw them at me beforehand. I will just take them.
Mhm.
So will most Levi's. So, and Briar, I think the Briar matchup is fine for Levia. Honestly, I think like they swing big, you swing big. They don't have a ton of on hits either, so again, you're just kind of duking it out a bit. So it's not too bad. Now, this is when you're looking at the heroes. I know a lot of these players. They're all very good players, very impressive. So if you're weighing up the players over the hero, it's a different story. I know they're all serious contenders. Obviously, they made the top eight and very good. A lot of consistent wins. So yeah, I'm not happy to see probably any of them as a player level. I'm like, okay, this could go either way. But matchup wise, that's kind of how I feel about it. And obviously, Dromai is the matchup I think is very skewed in Levia's favor. You pop the dragons, you present more damage than they can deal with. So
Mhm. Yeah, generally there are very tight Dromai players who can make that matchup tough, but overall, yeah, I think that it's one of the reasons to play Levia is to have a more comfortable Dromai matchup right now. But if you haven't played against the scariest of the Dromais, like the Michael Fangs of the world, or like the Brody Spurlocks, and Mara Ferris, Pheno Black, they can get you. They can get you. Dromai is a deck that blocks like insanely well, and they can really just make the game longer than you want to, and poke you with arcane that you're never blocking. And it's a weird game. It can skew into a weird game. But if the Dromai plays it like they want to play any matchup, they will just lose. Because the more dragon trades they take of, okay, I'm going to spend 2 cards making, a Chromai or whatever, swing, you pop it. That's great. You spent 1 card to basically have dealt them 6 damage because they kept 2 cards for it. So generally, yes, I think the Dromai matchup is fine. But you didn't face the Dromais, right? You had your top 8 basically be straight Rangers. So what was that first matchup?
The first matchup was against Lexi, so the dream, exactly what we wanted. We came in, like you said, like I've said, wanted to play Dromais all day, saw 2 more in top 8, said, okay, finally, here's my chance. I'll go against some Dromais. And I got paired up against Connor on Lexi, and yeah, I was a little bit concerned about it. Connor, like I said, is a very good player. Lexi is an intimidating hero because the game is very swingy. It's, which one of us is going to pop off first with our big turns, and can we maintain the tempo? I have a husk, they have 3 husks, so
Oh god, do they?
it's it can be a tough one. I was with a little bit of luck and just playing the game very tight, very efficiently. did pick up the win. It surprised me probably as much as it'll surprise anyone who knows the matchup. But got very lucky. I set up some key cards that I wanted banished early, like Dread Screamers, Graveling Growls, stuff like that. The typical game plan to have my value engine late. My game plan going in is pretty much always to hit Last Mafet. I think you're always going to get down to that low life total in my experience, whether you want to or not. And when you do, you just need to swing, reckless swing, just get in there, play all of your big cards again, and just try and stomp them out pretty quickly. So I hit all of those, which is great. What I was very fortunate about was being able to block my Husk after the transformation.
That's
what
huge,
happened,
huge.
It was very big, because the key to that is being able to turn off the mill effect for Last Mafet, and that was, I think, what saved the game for me and being able to just push that damage. I was able to just keep swinging, and when I noticed that my opponent was blocking more so, trying to adopt a bit more fatigue, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop milling myself now, and I'm just gonna play out all of these cards in my banish zone. I'm still getting the value and still forcing them to block, and we'll get to a stage where I don't have to mill myself anymore, and I still have all these big value cards, and your life total is so low that you can't ignore my damage anymore. But like I said, it was a bit of luck as well. My opponent didn't see 3 of a kinds until quite late in the game, and it was late enough. I think it was at a turn where it didn't mean much and they couldn't really do anything with it. So and by the time they were like drawing up the rest of them, it was too late. I think at that point the life total,
at that point it's a block too. Hell yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So a little bit of luck, perseverance.
Did you also find like early blood rushes? Like, was that, you haven't really mentioned like blood rush being a key card in all your games so far. But how did that line up, I guess?
Blood rush, I hit a nice blood rush. God, I want to say I think it was actually turn 1. So I think my opponent went first, if I remember, and attacked. I blocked it with something. I hit a blood rush turn 1, sent me off to a huge start.
My God, they attacked you turn 1? Oh, it's free.
If I remember, I think so. Yeah.
Oh
I remember
gosh.
if they didn't attack, then I know I had a blood rush. I think on the first turn. So
Okay.
it was nice. It's very good. Blood rush. Yeah, I haven't talked about it too much. Blood rush. Obviously, it can't overstate the value of the card. It's massive. It swings your games hugely. Blood rush can represent anything from 18 to 20 plus damage in a single turn. Can be absolutely insane. It's one of the best cards in the deck. Some would probably say the best card in the deck. Love it. It's a great card. It's one of my big reasons for playing Brute, honestly. I play Rhinar when I'm playing Blitz because I'm just a degenerate like that. I just like to swing for face and big numbers, So, but Blood Rush is huge. Yeah, I think in almost all of the games, I saw at least one, sometimes 2. In this game, I definitely saw 2 of my Blood Rushes. Unfortunately, banished one of them off the top, which was doesn't feel good, but it happens.
Sure.
These are
At least you flipped, right? At least you flipped.
Exactly.
It's fine to give it up.
But Blood Rush has obviously helped a huge amount, tons of damage. So yeah, it was good.
Cool. I think Connor's in the chat, I believe. He's saying you're missing a turn.
Turn 1. Oh, it could have been turn 2 then. It could have been turn 2.
Yeah, he's saving face here. He's claiming that he did not attack turn 1. He's not that dumb. That's good. It's good to know.
Apologies, Connor. Apologies. We had
Ireland is back up there. I dropped you a peg, but never mind. Ireland's back up there.
Trying to remember all the events. We had a lot of drinks afterwards, so I kind of forgot. So it was a turn 2 blood rush then. That's my bad, Connor. I'm making you look worse. You were. Yeah. So blood rush was huge. I think ultimately, to sum it up, I got quite lucky and played it as consistently as I could. But I saw a lot of my power cards before Connor saw his. And I think that's just how the matchup plays out with Lexi. Do you see your power cards before they see theirs? Pretty much.
Yeah, and normally that is not skewed in your favor because they have more power cards than you. But it can line up, and you can force, like you said with Consumed, a big... The play you're talking about with like Carrying Husk post-Consumed, I think more so than avoiding the mill, what that's really doing and why it feels so good is because you're guaranteed every time you flip it and Consumed to end up at 13, right? It's what's printed on the card. So... Yeah. If you flip it and Consumed, and then your opponent just throws their normal Lexi 15 damage turn, whatever it is, then that's still very much the danger zone. But if you can flip it and Consumed and still have Husk up to kind of protect you for that first buffer, then you really play that late game well, because battering down those life totals if you're both relatively even, but then all of a sudden you have Husk to like buy you that turn ahead when you're playing the late game now, that's where Levia wants to be. It's insane.
Yeah, it's huge. It obviously swings because you can just block out pretty much that entire turn. Against some heroes, it's probably not a great idea because there's some heroes that might be happy to just go, you know what, Arsenal pass. There you go, your Husk is gone. But against Lexi, definitely it's huge because Lexi doesn't really want to take a turn off. I think they'd rather throw some arrows at you and say, okay, well, block with your Husk. Then they're not really going to try and take a turn off. It's not what the deck is about.
Because they can generally shoot a couple wide anyway. So if you're blocking like one arrow with Husk, they're still hoping to hit you for another like one or two in the chain as well. But sweet. So then you did make top 4. Moving on up. Only a few Levias in the world have been here. I think only like maybe 4 have gotten this far ever. So how did you feel? How did you feel at this point? Was that hitting you like this mantle of Levia responsibility is like on your shoulders now? You've got to get the win, or it's just another day.
Very much so. No, very much so. I think going into the day, I didn't have huge expectations. I like to give you a summary of it. I got up about 3 a.m. that morning. I woke up and thought, oh, I better do my deck list. I've got this event in a few hours. And I sat down and I was thinking about changes to the deck I was going to make because I'd been playing a lot of different variants and practicing taking certain cards in and out. And I just, I've, advice from friends and like previous experience, you don't change your deck just before the event. And, I had the most reps on your list that you'd put together without any changes. So I was just, take what you've been playing. We'll bring this in and we'll go. My goal, like I said, was just to make top 8. After that, I was happy. So coming into this, the weight really started to set in. It was like, oh, okay, this is this is where we're going to have to start playing really serious now because there's the World's Invite on the line. The top 2 getting a World's Invite is huge. It would be the next step, obviously, for me in terms of Flesh and Blood. Being able to participate in like a bigger event outside of like Nats or Pro Quests or anything like that. So yeah, it was definitely there. It was a tense game coming up. I thought, I'd love to be able to get some LL points on Levia. That would be huge.
Oh,
that would mean more.
Massive.
So yeah, the wait was here. I was very anxious and nervous going into this one. Very worried about it. The person I was playing against, Jacob, I actually got them into the game from Magic. We were standing there I believe you were in Gamers World before. You played an armory in there in Dublin, right? So
yeah, Dublin. I didn't get to play the armory, unfortunately. I was supposed to, and then my stepmom fell as we were trying to make it to the taxi, and that became a whole ordeal. So we missed the taxi, and I couldn't play in the event. It was bad.
You got a story out of it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh God.
She tripped at the Titanic Museum. There was like a loose brick or whatever, and it was catastrophic. She had coffee in her hand. It was a whole thing.
Oh my God.
But I did still swing by, and I saw Dylan win the armory, and flawn a bit as per usual. Yep.
Yeah, you saw him do his little lap dance, his parade around the tables. Yeah.
Oops! I won another armory.
Yeah. Exactly. But I met Jacob in the store. He was buying Magic product at the time, and he was asking me for advice on what packs to buy. And I told him, man, I wouldn't bother buying packs of Magic. It's a scam. It's a scam. Don't bother. He's like, okay, well, what packs would you buy? And I busted out the sales pitch and, oh, well, have you heard of Flesh and Blood? We immediately bought, I think, a crate just there and then. That was the end of us being able to get product in Gamers World because I think he never stopped buying boxes since then. He's our local supplier. But nice. This is who I was going against now in this round against Azalea. He's a diehard Azalea player. He's been playing Azalea since he started. Plays Azalea at every armory. Practices online. So this is his hero. This is what he likes to do. He likes to dominate Red in the Ledger consistently. I think every time I've played against Jacob's Azalea, I've not been Red in the Ledger less than 4 times. So,
that's illegal.
Yeah, it can feel bad, especially when it's dominated off the top blind. Shout out Jacob. We see what you're doing. You dominate those arrows off the top. We know you didn't calculate it. Excuse me.
Imagine
But
this though: top 4 of nationals even last year, and Azalea and Levia. What an absolute joke if you told someone in 2022 that was even possible.
I
But
think it would lose
that's what
credibility.
Outsiders
Yeah,
and Dust Till Dawn did, right? Like, look at that,
yeah.
unplayable
I think
heroes to the top.
some of the key cards that Levia got was huge. So like I have a bit of a confession to make. I actually played Levia a long time ago when I think probably Starvo was still a thing.
Hmm.
Um, my friend Ian had the deck together and he kind of gave it to me and I played it and I could not figure the deck out. I was playing it, it felt clunky, it felt not good, and I remember that the pivot for me was I rolled scab skins and I rolled a 1 and I went,
Oh
oh,
my god.
that turns my turn off. Oh, that sucks. All right, I'll pop the gambler's gloves. And I roll a 1 and then I
Oh
died to
yeah.
blood debt. And I remember saying, this deck sucks. Why would anyone play this hero?
Oh my god.
This is stupid. So uh, I've been majorly converted now. I think it's probably one of the best decks at the minute. But just how my Levia career, I guess, started off was, you know, playing
Mhm.
that one game, losing to Blood Debt by rolling too many ones, and now here we are. But I've been majorly converted. I have to say, it's a lot of fun. It's a great deck. But anyway, into the match. Yeah, it was more or less what I expected from Azalea. You know, dominated big arrows. That's fine. I don't really want to block most of the time. It's kind of inconvenient if it's a hamstring shot. You know, I have to pay
Mhm.
pitch extra blue. You just factor in those kind of decisions for the most part. You come in with more damage, I think, overall. Bar the triple buff arrow turns, I guess. But the dominate doesn't really hurt you. It's like, oh, you put a -1 counter on my husk. Okay, it blocks for 5 now. Oh, hamstring shot. Okay, I got to use up an extra resource for the attack. You're not really put out by anything except for one card, which is Sleep Dart.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, Sleep Dart is horrible. It's horrible when you transformed. So it came down to a very clutch situation. I'm going to try and recall it as best I can so
All
as not to
right.
offend anyone else because I put Connor on blast here. So my opponent was on 5 life. Um, and I believe I was on a little bit more. I think 11 actually. It was on 11. And they came in with a sleep dart for 11. I had already
Oh
transformed at the
my
point.
god.
So 11, and I'm sitting on 4 blood debt. And I map it out. I have a blood rush in hand, by the way. So I was really hoping for something that wasn't demanding 2 cards from me. And I'm mapping it out. I have 1 non-block in hand. I think it was a Dreadwood Rumbler. I had conversions from Bellows of Hell. Maybe I've missed a word there, but those 2 cards, a Blood Rush. I think it was a Graveling Growl, a red Graveling Growl, maybe a yellow. So I'm looking at this hand and I'm like, if I could play this entire hand, this is definitely the game, but I'm going to have to block with at least 2 cards. Made somewhat of a mistake in my calculations a little
No,
bit. So
no.
I sat here for a little while thinking about it and thinking, okay, how do I play out this in the most efficient way possible? And I'd contemplated just blocking it out as much as possible, try to go for the next turn or whatever. And there was a blood rot on the end of this as well, so I'd have to pay to that, and then you take the blood death damage. But and somewhere in my flawed decision making, I decided I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep the 2 blues in my hand. I'm going to play the convulsions to give myself dominating +1, and then I'm just going to play a Graveling Growl from Banished. I'm going to come in for
Oh
8 dominate and forgetting completely that sleep
yeah.
dart.
Sleep dart, buddy. Sleep dart.
The whole reason I had planned out that this turn was going to hurt. But when you get to the end of these days, like I said, been up since 3 that morning, and even if I hadn't have been, when you're at the end of these events, you're a little bit fried. There's not long breaks in between, so you make errors in your
Mhm.
judgment. Hopefully, get them out of the way now before Worlds. But I blocked with 2 cards, and then my opponent passed. I took the damage. I had a blood rot. I had looking at 6 damage coming my way. I was on, I think, 3 life.
Oh.
And I had to have a look and say, "Oh, I've made a horrible mistake here. I can't play anything. They're on 6. They're on 5. I can threaten 6. Not good. So I had to figure out how to get out of this. I had a swing big in Arsenal, I should point out, actually. That's
Okay,
kind of
relevant.
pivotal. So, but what I'm looking at is a Dreadwood Rumbler in hand, a conversion from the Bellows of Hell, and a swing big in Arsenal. I have a Frailty token, I have a Bloodrot token, I have 4 Bloodrot coming my way, and I have no hero text. So I was in a bad situation, and I mulled it over for a little while. I know one of the judges, Guillaume, is a great judge, great guy. He was watching intently. I think Alex, another one of the judges, was busy at Dylan's table at the time. So he was just watching intently to see how this played out. And I think everyone sat around going, well, that's it for Levia.
Yeah, there you go.
He's goofed it now. And then I realized, well, if I can get a 6 on scab skins, I guess I can claw.
Oh,
Swing
no
big.
way. Oh, my
And
God.
this is where I was talking about, when you're giving up too early and having to push through sometimes. Like rolling a 6, like for the clutch win is pretty improbable. But I had gamblers, and I figured, you know what? Like, I mean, I have 2 shots at it. And it's better than just conceding. It definitely makes for a better story. So we rolled the dice. We hit the 6.
The
to
first
Jake.
time? The first time?
First time.
Oh, easy. It was destined.
I think the judges worked it out as like a 0.16% or something, I was told. So must change my my Discord handle. But Jacob was not happy about that.
Oh, yeah.
And we played out the turn. We claw for 3. He blocked with a Bolton shot. We clawed for 3 again, and he gave me his headpiece, the Skullbone Cross Wrap, and a 2 block. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. Okay. Giving me the equipment, because surely if you had a 3 block, you could have just blocked this. And I said, oh, well, we're here now. And I swung in with the swing big for 7 because the Frailty token, my opponent's on 5. And my opponent had a Rain Razors and a 2 block in hand. So it was enough to clutch out the game. So a lot of luck. Got really fortunate with the misplay because it relied on me being able to roll a 6 on the scab skins and my opponent having a no block in hand.
Oh,
So
wait, you did say something about this turn cycle that I don't want to like super call this out, but you had a Frailty, right? This is part of the turn?
yes,
So your claws should only come in for 2.
they were
not
only
3.
coming for 2.
Oh, they
but
were
my-
only coming in for 2.
Yeah, but my opponent blocked them out regardless. Yeah. I think
Oh, okay,
his
okay.
idea was to just block it out. So they would have been just coming in for 2 damage, but I think it was just he was worried about what I maybe might present, so he just blocked out when he could. So first block with the Bolton shot, but then blocked with the 3 on the second claw. Like I said, I didn't question it, but blocks it out and came out with the swing big. Yeah, claw would have been just for 2 because of the frailties, but like I said, opponent's on 5. He was just trying to mitigate any kind of damage. Didn't want anything pushing through. Possibly could have blocked a little bit more efficiently, but there was mistakes on both sides.
That's all right.
I completely goofed my turn. I shouldn't have, forgot about Sleep Dart's hit effect and almost, took myself out of the game by just letting that hit. But it was a bit of a mess, but we got there in the end. It was a nice finish to come in. A lot of things had to line up correctly for it. So, like I
Sweet.
said, a lot of luck throughout the day, and definitely paid off. Obviously in the end. So.
Well, I think
But,
if you had remembered how Sleep Dart works, you probably had the win regardless, because it sounds like you could have blocked with 1 card and still just forced the 3 card. Because you were at 11, right? Sorry.
Yeah, pretty
11.
much. Yeah.
So you
I
could,
could've-
in
I could
theory,
have blocked it and played out the Blood Rush.
yeah, block, play up, Blood Rush, claw, swing big.
Mhm.
That's going to get over
It
the
was
top.
it was 100% my own mistake. I'm so owning it here. Like it'll live here now forever on YouTube, unfortunately. But read what the card does. Reading the card explains the card.
Right.
So-
So it's okay. You did it. You are now the first. Actually, sorry, someone in chat mentioned this, so shout out to them. Apparently, Levia also got second in Slovenia, which totally flew by me. I didn't see that anywhere. I apologize. So I don't know when the timing on Slovenia was, but we'll still call it you. You are the first Levia making it now to the finals of a nationals. Never before happened, and then it also happened in Slovenia at some point. We'll say after.
Mhm.
Insane.
We'll take it. We'll take the win, no matter how we got there.
No
So-
living legend points, unfortunately. It doesn't splash the top 8 like some people have pitched to LSS. But you're still there. You are now 1 game away from being the first Levia to win a Nationals, get Living Legend points above any like Road to Nats Pro Quest type deal. But you're against your buddy Dylan, who also shout out to Dylan. You're not the villain of the story. I'm just messing with you. He was hurt in chat. We do genuinely, we love you, Dylan. You're not the villain. There are very obvious villains in the Flesh and Blood community. Just look at Twitter. And it's not you, Dylan. Don't worry.
No. We'll give you the title of protagonist, Dylan. Okay, you're the main character.
There you go. So how did you? Had you practiced with Dylan going into this specifically? Like you knew where he was at in Lexi. You knew where this matchup kind of lied between you two, or this was going to be a fresh thing.
Yeah, we'd run a few practice games. Not so much on Levia, but because I had the Azuri reps, I played some Azuri into Lexi. He wanted to figure like, okay, if I play against Azuris, is it just a wipe? And it was never going to be that playing against me. But anyway, my matches with him, he was confident enough. He's like, Azuri's not so much of a threat. I don't know what that says about my Azuri, but we played a few reps, and I played some Levia as well. So I've played a lot against Dylan as well through armories and stuff like that. So we both. It can be quite an unfortunate thing when you're playing against people that you regularly play against, because sometimes they won't play, and myself included, how you normally should with the deck, because they know your tells, you know. They just get a good read on you, maybe don't play as efficiently. I've been told before, it's easy to soul read me when they've played. Some people can tell exactly what's in my hand just from like an expression I make from having played me before. So it can be an unfortunate situation, but I have to say I was really happy to be playing against Dylan. I've been talking to him a lot coming up to Nats. Obviously, for the win meant a lot for both of us, so we both really wanted to play this, but neither of us wanted, it to be kind of handed to us either. We wanted to play like a tough game and earn the title, and for me that was very much going to be the case, and not so much Dylan. I think you got a bit lucky getting me, Dylan. So there's some better players that could have got in there ahead of me, but we were both kind of I wouldn't say stressed, but a little bit anxious. So we took probably 15-20 minutes before we played the game just to like clear our heads and
drink
like,
a Guinness.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah. Crack the Guinness in the local game store straight off the shelf. Plenty drank afterwards, I'll tell you that much. But we sat down, we played it. I'd love to say it was a close game. It was not so much a close game. I did get Dylan low, I think, down to 6, but I think it's one of those situations where he was like, "Oh, you're gonna take me to 6, and then I'll kill you." Okay, that's fine.
Right.
So I definitely saw his first 3 of a kind pretty early, and saw a second one, I think, when the tempo was swinging a little bit. So
that's one extra husk over you.
One
Scales
extra husk,
tip.
but he's a very good player. He played it very efficiently. I more so than the 2 3 of a kinds. I think the turn he got me with was I was sitting on a blood rush, and unfortunately 3 reds, but I was like, we can make it work and try and push something here. And he hit me with an Arctic Incarceration, and that shut me off. And that comboed with the Blood Debt. And I made a very risky play, but this one was not so much a mistake in my eyes. My back was kind of to the wall, and I was trying to force my Levia transformation, but also play out a turn. But it would have involved me going down to 14, and if you're aware, Hornet Sting can be a very deceptive card. So, but I had to play around the idea that, Hornet Sting might block, but there was a chance that it whiffed. Like I said, back was against the wall at this point. If it didn't, maybe the game is a little bit more in my favor. Maybe I can pull it back a bit, just being able to draw from those good cards again, and essentially being able to play 3-4 card hands with a 2-card hand. But unfortunately, Hornet Sting revealed an arrow. I think it was a searing shot. Goddamn searing shots. And knocked me down to 13. And that was the end of it. Not the first time I thought, if I had sigils in this deck. But no, putting no blocks in the deck is probably a bad idea. I think we're at critical mass of no blocks. But so yeah, the Hornet Sting probably sealed my fate there. Ironically did, I would argue, more damage than any other card in your deck.
yeah, that makes sense. take the blood that pings it for one on top of it. That's okay. I mean, so like you said, there is randomness tied to that line anyway. Dylan's obviously always going to do that. He sees you at 14, he's going to make that play. But if it doesn't work out, then hey, got to get a little lucky to win. Just wasn't your
That's
day.
it.
Just wasn't your day. That's fine.
Sometimes you just got to play into it. There's but it was a very fun game. It was a really good game. And I was happy with how it went. I was happy with how the day went. And Dylan deserved the win. He's a phenomenal player. Puts a lot of practice in, and obviously discusses with a lot of the pro players like yourself. So yeah, he's got the reps. He's got the knowledge.
I don't think I'm a pro player. I happen to be on a pro team, which is just lucky. But my results are still like stunted somewhere like around here.
the brain behind the operation, huh? I have to say I was really happy with the list. So that's what was funny when you reached out to me actually about doing a deck tech, and I had to be like, oh, time to fess up. I literally plagiarized your list from your previous videos. So yeah, I mean the deck plays exceptionally well. I've played around with a ton of iterations of it in practicing, adding like yellow dread screamers, taking out the likes of Savage Feast. Is a card that I feel sometimes doesn't feel great, but then other times can feel amazing. But honestly, I think the list that you have there is hyper consistent. It's very solid.
Yeah, I'm just trying to double check because decklist and sideboard. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is the exact same list, is it not? The Battle Hardened Cincinnati, like you said, the one I did the deck tech on. The only real content I've put out in Dusk Till Dawn. Everything else has just been a stream. But yeah, this list I believe is card for card the same.
It's identical. I've not, for the list that I played, I didn't take out anything. I didn't add anything. Like I said, it feels very consistent.
Okay, yes. It is the exact same. Sweet. Cool. Well, then that's easy, folks. If you want to see a deck tech on the second place list, it's already out. We did it. Save myself the time. It's already out. Exactly. That's so cool, though. So you stuck with some like really early ideas that even I shied away from. Like the idea of heavy Savage Feast initially was just because as with Consumed being a pivot point of like bringing back the Endless Maws, bringing back the Dread Screamers, then Savage Feast could be this like early game play to kind of keep up with higher damage numbers, to smooth over your ability to like block and still protect Consumed, but then also spike and have like wider go again, either next to Scabs or like Art of War. It felt like blocking became a lot more important than leaning into like a Pulping and Wild Ride core to be aggressive, because now you had a new life total you had to protect in Consumed, right? So I liked him a lot at first, but found that for me, the Scabskins lines I was taking with Savage Feast were like throwing so many games, because it was just that it was the brainworm of, well, if I hit Scabs on a Savage Feast turn, this game is going to feel great. If I don't, it's going to feel bad, but it's a 50-50. Like those are better odds than you get in a lot of card games, so let's just do it. And my dice luck is abysmal. So every time I went for like a greedy play, it just pushed me farther and farther away from like ever wanting to play this card at all, even when it is good naturally next to Art of War. So how did they feel just being like so like a 3 of in the deck, right? It's like it's taxing a lot for a red slot. How did you like them?
So like you said, a lot of the time they do just say block 3. So sometimes like I'm not very keen on them, and then there's other times like you really want. I think Pat probably did a deck tech video, or it was either yourself said it. You really want to be coming in for 2 cards for 6 essentially most turns. So having 1 for 6 is just huge. But what I found is it can be key for some massive turns where like you play off an Art of War and you come in with this and you discard a 6 power, and all of a sudden your claws now let you extend and go even further. Even if they're just coming in for 3, instead of going 2 cards 12, you can sometimes go 2 cards 12 plus like a claw, or like 2 claws even sometimes, depending on your draws. Like you can get some insane value out of Savage Feast, and I think it opens up a lot of lines that you normally wouldn't have. It's great. Obviously, sometimes off Scabskins it doesn't feel amazing, but I think having a 1 for 6, it makes a good arsenal target as well. I think I like the card. Ultimately, I toyed around with taking it out, maybe putting in yellow Dread Screamers. I think it can also be a good shout, but It definitely has its place in the list. I think it works. And the worst case scenario, it blocks 3. It's something that, like,
Right.
Levia values greatly.
Exactly.
So,
A 6 that blocks 3, the 1 cost itself can be a fine
yeah.
curve. Like, after Dread, discard a card in hand, reset Arsenal. It's still a 3-card play. The card was fine. I'm surprised I was pushed so far away from it in the testing because, like, you're showing it's working great. And there were a lot of other lists doing well, like Mo Bogsley, Mark Johnson, who got 11th at the Calling, which in terms of like player scale is definitely the most impressive Levia finish now. But in terms of closest to Living Legend, this is still you and the person in Slovenia, right? But the version that he played was also extremely similar to this, heavy into Savage Feast. So I got to go back, baby. We're going back. How did you like the heavy Diabolics, though? Because this is something that I think pretty much everyone is calling bad now. I was sold on the card. I wanted to see it work. So that's really why it was at 3 in this list. I wanted it to succeed. Did it? Hell no. This card was ass. But you still played it. So how did it feel for you?
It's one of my favorite cards in the deck, probably, which is controversial. I see, obviously there's times when, it's a 0 block, but it can still block, which is nice for turning off certain triggers, but I like it. It's a 1 for 6. It's a blue pitch. It's good. Sometimes it can feel bad, like it doesn't, if you haven't turned it on previously, it can feel pretty awful, but it's just as good, I think, as sometimes as Slithering Shadowpede for the follow-up attack on like an Art of War turn, or ideally an Art of War turn, actually. I think Slithering Shadowpede, Diabolic, Art of War, Pitch of Blue, or Art of War in Arsenal, whatever way you want to play it. You come in, you banish the Slithering Shadowpede, and come in with that for 6 go again. Like, having the Diabolic there is just a nice answer, I think, most of the time. I wouldn't be as against it as I know a lot of Levia players are, but I think it's a solid card. I think it works. It takes a little bit more to get working, and there's times where you can draw it and it feels bad, but hey, like, I mean, you could draw a hand that's 3 Dreadwood Rumblers, and go, and maybe a Doomsday and go, okay, well, this doesn't block anyway. So.
Sure. Or the classic double Blood Rush, double Art of War hands. They happen, baby. They're out there.
They do.
Oh my god. Interesting. I honestly, I think I'm convinced to run it at just a lower count. I know a lot of people in the League of Levia still like it as like a one of. Honestly, my strat with Levia right now is like really try to peel back on the non-blocks. But you're right, like 1 cost 6, natural pitch stack. The beauty of Art of War and Slitherpede or whatever this card's called, Slithering Shadowpede, as a core is that you really do want those 1 costs, right? You want to be able to pitch blue, banish Slithering, and then draw into a 1 cost. So the more opportunities you have to slide in the 1 cost in flexible slots, like a 1 cost in a blue slot, right? That's a blue most of the time. But then on that turn is a 2-card 12 effectively. That's quite the ceiling. That's true. That is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
You'll pitch it early and you'll see it later on, and it'll just line up nicely because, like I said, you're recurring a lot of your really good cards from banished anyway. So it's not actually a huge ask to like play the Slithering line multiple times in a game. You'll see these Diabolics coming later on. You can stack them for big turns, and it can be quite huge. Now, I know it's not always the game plan. Sometimes Levia, you don't really get to see second cycle. You're going to transform. You're going to banish a lot of those key hands that you set up for later, but sometimes it works out, and I like the card. I think it's not one that I would be mad in taking out. I think it's good for what it is, the blue card. So, if we had a similar card that has a 3 block and, with 1 cost 6, then obviously maybe my opinion changes. But for now, I think it's good.
So did you ever block for 6 with Diabolic?
No.
Damn it.
That is not yet, but I definitely could have. There's turns where you could obviously, use the Art of War and you could do it, but I think those turns you'd just rather
probably not
play the hand and go for face, because you'll save 6 life, but you could threaten probably 18 on the card, so no, not yet, but I have blocked with it for 0.
Oh yeah. I think the play that for me comes up the most Diabolic is attack with it for 0 on turn 0. Okay, sweet. Graveyard fill, attack for 0.
That's it.
That's it. That's its ceiling for me. That's where I live with my Levia variants. But
listen, there's nothing wrong with filtering it early. Someone like attacks you turn one, as some people will do, or not even turn one. They let you go first. You're like, okay, I'll roll Scab Skins, Arsenal Pass, and you can just throw it out there, and it just fills up your yard super quick. You don't really feel bad about it because it blocks 0 anyway. So.
It's kind of sad though that one of the best use cases is just to get it out of your get it out of your deck, get it out of your hand. Oh well,
True.
oh well. Blocking 0 is still something we need to be proud of, right? Not every card gets to do that. Some cards just say no block, and that's
Yeah. Some
even
cards
worse.
just don't block at all.
Which, speaking of, you did stay true to kind of the original, like toolboxy sideboard, which at this point also I think I've moved away from quite a bit. But how did you like some of the older inclusions of like Guardian of the Shadow Realm and Shadow Plasma? Because you actually played into 3 Dories, which in theory, like Guardian's actually kind of big in that
Huge.
matchup. Yeah.
I was unfortunate that I don't think in any of the games. Sorry, in my first game I got to play it, but most of the games I didn't. But the card is huge. I mean, one of the key things that was pointed out to me, I think Dylan pointed this out to me actually. If you read Blasphemet's text, the very bottom part says, once each turn you may play a card of Blood Debt from your banished zone.
You didn't watch the spoiler video. I talked about this in the spoiler video.
You did, and this is why I'm bringing this up, because I watched this and I'm like, oh, that's huge. I'll have to remember that.
I see,
And then I
see.
don't. And Dylan reminds me and goes, yeah, you can play this during your opponent's turn. And I go, oh yeah, did say that.
That's right. That's right.
And I think that just adds so much value to Guardian. It's a huge card. Being able to block for 6, and you don't always need it, but against things like Azalea, against things like Dory, just being able to pull that out of there is just massive.
Yeah, funny enough, you played kind of the tournament run where this card would feel the best. The Azaleas and the Dorinthias. Absolutely. Throw a Bravo in there, and this card would have felt insane.
We have a lot of Bravos too. I just apparently dodged them. Yeah, it's a massive card. It's huge. I love it. I think it's really good.
Sweet. Did you like it then as a one of next to Shadow, or you were just adding it, and if you saw it, you saw it? Cool.
Next to Shadow of Blasphemeth.
Yeah, like were you ever like trying to actually tutor it out, or it just was a naturally drawn D-React that you could get value out of?
Not in the tournament, I don't think it came up, but I have played it where, sometimes I want to just fetch Guardian of the Shadow Realm. I just want to have it there, because just recur that value is so handy. Like if you're playing against Azalea, you throw out a Shadow of Blasphemeth. I mean, it's great to just grab Guardian of the Shadow Realm. The worst thing that can happen with Azalea is like they come in with a massive dominated hit, or Bravo. This applies to both. I think the 2 decks are very similar in what they're trying to achieve. They come in with a big on hit. You maybe have not an ideal hand for blocking, it's dominated or whatever, and just having that like 6 block can be very, very nice. It's handy to just have it on demand when you want it. So yeah, it would probably be what I would tutor over some of the other options. Like sometimes you'll tutor just for like specific banishes, or if you're playing towards Blasphemeth, you might want a key card just there. You're like, okay, I want to get this here for later. I'm gonna have to transform sooner than I thought. I need some Dread Screamers. But yeah, being able to fetch Guardian it's huge. It really changes the matchups that it's important in, I feel. It's great.
Sweet. That's good to hear. I really like, at its core, hate this card, but not for its effect. Like the reason it ever comes back is because its effect is actually awesome. But the red 2-cost non-block is just the worst design shit. Like that is if you draw multiple, they can't pay for each other, it also hurts adding in like the pulping, the wild ride package, because now you've got more in this same slot of just not being able to pay for each other. So you're adding in kind of the worst part of the low variance possible in Levia, which is the part you truly can't control, like the first cycle draw of Jesus Christ, like I just drew unplayable hands. That's what can happen with Shadow, and it's nothing to do with like the other variants like Scabskins, where you're accepting that you're playing into it. Shadow just feels like you're adding the 0 agency, like low variance outcomes to your deck when you add too many of these kind of cards. So it's so unfortunate, because you want to love this, you want it to line up in every hand, you want to find it early, and then it's crazy. But I swear to God, the moment I put like even more than 1 copy in my list, I am plagued to draw multiples, or to whiff on Blood Debt on the critical turn where like it needed to banish. Like it's just, This card does not treat me right, and it's so sad because it's actually good. It's actually, in theory, I think a perfect Levia list wants to run 3 of these because it is a role filler early game, and like you said already, there's flexibility in pulling out now with Consumed the cards you want to flip into. Something I was testing pretty extensively was if you run Heavy Shadow of Blasmafet and then run a singular Yellow Dread Screamer, then you can actually use Shadow of Blasmafet as like your pivot turn, where you're going to play this as your flip to Consume turn, banish the Yellow Dread Screamer, because now you've not turned off Blood Debt, but also put like the second most powerful Blood Debt card possible in your banish zone. It was crazy. It was like there were good things you could do to try to smooth out how like the whole Levia game plan works. But good God, like I just don't get treated right when I add this card to my deck. So I'm glad it worked for you. I'm glad it worked.
It can feel bad. I think I don't think I would drop below 1. I think it's a nice card to have, like when you want to pair it up in those Guardian of the Shadow Realm matchups. I'm not sure about 2. I've not been too screwed over by drawing 2 of them, and it's felt bad. But when you have the play and being able to fetch like certain cards you want, it's very nice. Maybe you could drop down one of them. I think it's solid 1 of anyway. Like I said, it probably only take me drawing like 2 of them or having one of those experiences, and maybe I'll be put off the card. So
yeah, it's almost worse than a 1 into a 1, because when this card specifically screws you, you put it in your deck. Like you did this to yourself, you know. So there's just no excuse. There's just no excuse. The real lows are unlocked where in a singular game you get screwed not only by Shadow, but you also roll a 1 into a 1, and you play into like a Kano. You want everything wrong to happen at once. Have those games, which have definitely happened to me, and somehow I stick with the hero. I don't know. I'm an insane person. But that's cool. So out of the rest of the sideboard, there was obviously like a Lexi package with the CNCs and the hold the lines. Did you feel like they actually pulled their weight still? Because this is another card I wanted to play. I was running out of slots for, but there is real benefit in swapping a non-block blue for a potential block 5 in a Lexi matchup, right?
Yeah, I think it actually came up in my match against Connor with the 3 of a kind turn. Connor can correct me here, but I'm pretty sure I played this, and it can feel huge. I think it's good. I like it. You could probably take it out because I think it's only relevant for Lexi, but then Lexi is top of the meta.
Hey, the mirror, buddy. No, you're all the way in Ireland. Maybe there's no other Levia players, but let me tell you, live against Blood Rush and Art of War, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think it's good. Like, there's nothing I have against it. You know, at the worst case scenario, it pitches for 3. It's a nice react to have. When it works really well. So I wouldn't take it out. I think it's nice. It's nice to have against Lexi. Personally, I have yet to experience Levia Mirror or anything similar. So there's not a lot of. Actually, apparently we had 3 Ryanair players, but I again didn't see any of them. Like as we've already seen, played a lot of Dories. Didn't see any of the Ryanair's, or if there was, I think there might have been another Levia player as well. So I heard, but I'll have to get back to you on that when I play the Mirror and tell you how great it is.
We'll just play at Worlds, right? Or no, you're probably on Azalea at Worlds. Let's be real. She's about to get a new card in like what? Look at this. What is it, like 2 days? When do we find out? Sunday?
Yeah.
All right. On Sunday she gets a new card. That's all the hype. Oh, they added actually new ones. Holy crap! We got Mitch on Friday, Red Zone on Saturday. Ooh, okay. This is like 4 new additions I did not know about. This is about to be a loaded 2 weeks. Sick.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna shake things up anyway.
Cool. So then any last thoughts about the deck, your run, what you're thinking about going into Worlds, your thoughts like post like Briar being gone, right? What do you just feel? What's your Levia vibe right now?
Honestly, maybe I'm just still high on the fumes, but like I mean I'm loving Levia. The deck is very fun. It plays incredibly consistently for the game plan I want. I think more importantly, it's just playing something fun. You can try and pick stuff for you know the meta, and you know you can play into spiking a little bit. I think if you don't enjoy it, the losses are going to hurt even more, and the wins probably don't feel as satisfying. Personally, for me, I like winning on things on my own terms, decks that I want to win on. So yeah, I mean Levia is an incredibly fun deck. If people aren't switched on to it, I think it's really strong right now. Obviously, if they're here watching your content, they're probably aware of that already. You've been preaching since day one about Levia, and I have to concede it's very fun. I definitely think it's up there. It can compete with the big bads that are top of the format right now, and I think it's a little bit more fun than them. And you won't get as much flack as if you just pivot to Lexi.
Oh, exactly. It's there is one thing about Levia that I don't really enjoy, and that can be well, so you said you actually haven't played against Levia quite a bit, but there is actually an amount of games that you'll play where you as the Levia player are just so oppressive that the opponent got to make no choices. And I really despise those games because it used to feel like those games with Levia were so few and far between because something would go wrong. Like something in a Levia game pre-Dustal Dawn would go wrong and it would feel like, oh, there's a window now, like the early Blood Rush start, like I have play, whatever. But now Levia can actually have a consistent enough game where you just get slammed. Dread Screamers, Endless Maws, Art of Wars, Blood Rush, Flip Consume, Dread Screamers are back, 4-wide Blood Rush, like whatever it is. And your opponent's just like, there was not a single way my deck was supposed to survive that. Like it just was not possible. And it's like a huge feels bad when you have your perfect game. Now, granted, every deck has that, but I really enjoyed that Levia was a deck that was pretty far removed from those like feels bad to play against patterns, which is not exactly where she is now when you have your perfect game. So for me, maybe that's just having to contend with like the deck being a little bit higher power level now. You suck it up, you deal with it. But my God, like sometimes Levia can feel like Viserai right now. And that's hard to say because I hate Viserai, where they just draw your good cards and you just don't get to do anything. It's too much damage. Levia can feel very similar because it's not even like, oh, I should have blocked a different hit effect. It was about saving my block for the blood rot at the end of the chain, not going for the drill shot. Like you don't get to look back at those decisions. It's just, oh my God, it was, that was like a 26 damage turn. What do you mean? Yeah. That's okay. We'll have Azuri and things to fall back on, right? If Levia ever feels too degen, like working with hit effects and interaction is still its own beast, and that's what's really alluring me right now. I am hot on Levia, but for this next season of events, I would like to try playing other heroes again. There's a lot of people repping Levia now. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be. We got you. You're gonna win the next. I don't know it can't be the next national. That's like a year away. You're about to clean sweep the ProQuest season out there in Ireland. We've got another weekend of nationals events. Someone's got to do something with Levia. She can win an event. I do.
The reps are coming. I don't think we're far off. Between the list you've been putting out and the testing you guys have been doing, someone's going to make waves. Someone's going to be the Riptide, not the hero. But we're going to see some serious results off Levia. I think she's pretty good. But if you're looking at playing Azuri is incredibly fun too. I think like that's if there's a takeaway sentiment I can give to anybody for their upcoming nationals events, anything they're gonna have, is just play what you find fun. I was sitting on Lexi there. I wasn't finding it very fun.
Oh yeah.
Games I was winning didn't feel fun, didn't feel interactive. Games I was losing, I felt like, I shouldn't be losing because this is the best deck right now. So play what you find fun.
Absolutely.
And Azuri's a ton of fun. I think I think you playing Azuri will be pretty scary. But we'll meet up in Worlds and we'll get a few games in and we'll see.
Oh, it's gonna be a blast. I can't wait. I have all that booked. So good God, what is it like? We're just waiting until November at this point. Pretty soon.
Pretty much.
Well, Dean, it was super fun to have the chat on stream. I enjoy this format. Hopefully, everyone tuning in had fun as well. We get some chat interaction in. You had all the Irish community, in the chat pumping you up. It's more fun than doing like a recorded segment. So thanks for taking the time and joining me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Ethan. It's great to, well, not really meet, but finally talk to you. Like I said, missed you last time. We'll get some beers over in Barcelona. We'll have a few chats. But like I said, big fan. So this is huge for me. It's very humbling to be on your channel right now.
You earned this and more. Come on, you did amazing. So thank you, man. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I'll see you at Worlds.
Yeah, I'll see you then. Bye. See you guys.
All right, sick. He is such a cool dude. I love the Irish players. I mean, I'm biased. Dylan goes back to like my first insane Flesh and Blood experience at Lille. I just had so much fun at Lille, and Dylan was like one of the cooler people I met. So definitely a little biased. But then it held true when I got to go visit Dublin to go see my sister at Trinity College and just meet some more of the community and just fall in love with the country a bit more. Oh, so nice, so nice. We got to get some games in. Nicola. Sure. Like, you want to play on Talishar, or what's happening? What's your pitch? Let's see, it's 1 o'clock right now. I can keep streaming for probably like another hour because I do need to go run a bunch of errands today. This is kind of my last free afternoon before heading out to Canada because we do have Canadian Nationals coming up. Canadian Nationals is this weekend, and I'm streaming it. And while I doubt we'll get a Levia win at a Nationals that big, it's still possible. It's still possible. 128 players. It's in that like second tier of size. The US was like 522. Then like Germany, Australia, Canada. I don't remember if there's any other countries in that bracket. But yeah, this is like in that second tier, 128 players. It's going to be massive. And I'll be running the stream all weekend as Savage Feats. So let's just run back some Levia games then. Why not? Bring it over to Talishar. And just rock the OG list. The list I probably never should have parted ways with. Because, believe it or not, it's putting up better results. This kind of like core, super similar to like what Mark Johnson played as well at the Calling, the 11th place finish there with Levia. So I think it was this idea all along. Just play this core. For whatever reason, the Diabolics worked for Dean. I do think this should legitimately change. Actually, you know what? I don't want to play this exact list. I do have too many problems with this list. I would rather play what Mo Bogsley, Mark Johnson, did to the core here, because I actually have not given this a go yet. If you have not checked out Mark Johnson, he got 11th at the Calling next to US Nationals. It was freaking massive. And I was supposed to do a video with him last week, but I got sick with COVID, and now I just don't have time this week because of Canadian Nats and traveling for that. So I guess this will just lay in wait. Maybe we'll get him on stream at some point. But he did put out like a little quickie deck tech of the list. And he's just such a good dude. Definitely go check it out. So let's give this one a go. I've not played this version of the list. Oops, this whole time I was talking about this and showing it on stream, but I was full screen. So here we go. This is what I'm talking about. I linked it in the chat. Mo Bogsley, member of rival Team Ascent. All right. I am Team Runaways, so there is a rift now between me and my boy Mo. Team Runaways is the best team. Sorry, Team Ascent. You had your moment. You had Rhea back-to-back Battle-Hardened wins, but did you have half of top 8 literally part of your team? Did you have that, Team Ascent? Did you? I don't know. Speaking of Team Ascent, there are new videos going out. Man, you need to play a new deck. Are you in the league? God, I cannot see the newest message because of this stupid emote. What'd you say? Man, I need to play a new deck. Am I in the League of Levia? Wait, Jason, I'm convincing you to play Levia, Jason? Is that legit? Or are you referencing a Runaways thing? I don't know what's happening. Sweet. We've got a Bravo. I love the Bravo matchup. Let's have a nice, fair game, shall we? I would appreciate a nice, fair game. Interesting the way that Mark here has the sideboard set up. He's going to 61 cards and running double pulping. I don't want to do that. I'm going to run a singular pulping, thank you, and just run it at a clean 60. You don't really need to go above in Levia. And then, funny enough, he has it on... I don't know if this is right, just to be clear. He has it on Scabs and Grasp into Bravo. Bravo is where I clearly prefer Hooves Grasp. Alright, let's do it. I'm tiny edits. I can't help it. I can't just run exactly what someone's telling me to. Do you happen to sign cards at Nationals? Oh, I absolutely can. Do you mean at Canadian Nets? Yes, I will make sure to bring Sharpies and things. I'll bring a bunch of shirts with me. It's about all I've got left. Oh, they attacked me! The fool! I'll bring a bunch of shirts with me. It's about all I've got left. Okay, if they pummel me... I could have thrown the swing big just to protect a little bit from this, but I don't super mind. That's a pummel out of him. And this means I guaranteed have the swing big play. Now I draw into a blood rush, so we'll just play that, obviously. Didn't draw any resources, so this turn can either just be Claw, Arsenal, an Endless, Claw, play out the Endless. That's fine. The graveyard right now is only 1 blood debt, so I think we'll just make that play. Claw into Endless is fine. Or just slam the Dread and keep the Endless in Arsenal. That's also totally fine. And in a way, this can bait them thinking perhaps I go for a Mandible Claw after. They blocked with a Disable on this. So don't really know if they want a full block yet. Let's just do this play instead. Keep the Endless Maw. Not entirely convinced that they're going to block this all out. So if I knew that's how they're going to play, then I don't mind dropping the Endless Maw so that I'll have natural room to buy into Arsenal. But since we don't know how they necessarily want to play this, we're going to pretend that they want to trade. And they do want to trade, just a little bit. They want to trade just a little bit. I don't mind just getting the graveyard fill with Wrecker here. If that was the point, then I actually missed... If that was the play, I actually missed a point of block then. I should have just blocked with the other Wrecker on that and done a 2-card 6 with Slithering anyway. So, pretty much a mistake on that, because I think that's generally the better way to play this turn. Get the extra point blocking the Wrecker, and then just do the 2-card 6. It's only 1 blood debt, not a big deal. So, missed a point of value, and have messed up the graveyard a tiny bit as well. That's okay. We'll change things. We'll play it this way then. Sure, just so it doesn't look like I did this all completely unintentionally, I will now turn off Blood Debt, make myself look slightly smarter. Because at least this play was not possible if I save the point and do the Wrecker. Where's the buzzer? Jesus. Josh, let me... Come on, it's a full circle discussion. Actually, the play was correct. I saved... It's the same. I saved myself a point of damage. By playing it this way. Small thing, but there's a small square of a window. Oh, what is this? Thank you. Did not know that was there. Okay, pretty easy, just Endless Maw play here. We haven't seen any Art of Wars, and we saw 1 Dread Screamer, so I'm actually a little inclined, because for science's sake, I do want to see what saving the Savage Feast specifically for an Art of War play really feels like. It's generally not, however, really played this card. So for science, I do want to try that line instead. Where'd my cards go? Where'd they go? So we'll save the point of damage here, get the graveyard fill in, just Endless Maw and Arsenal the Savage Feast. I'm fine with that. If you cut some slack, it wouldn't be you now, would it? Pretty much, Josh. You're always there. Although, have you counted the amount of times I've died to Blood Debt since Dusk Till Dawn? You were there. You saw the 12-hour stream and like the 10 streams after that. Have I died to Blood Debt since Dusk Till Dawn? Maybe like once. Come on. Maybe like once. Okay, interesting. Interesting. So a little punished by putting the Savage Feast in. It was for science, but the Graveling was clearly better because I drew the Dread Screamer here. It was clearly better. So that's a little unfortunate. Overall, though, I'm just going to let the Blood Debt tick me here, get the graveyard fill, and return Claw. I don't super mind. If they're letting me block their Crippling Crushes in a position where I'm not punished for it, that's fine. Yeah, just once? See, thank you, Josh. Just once. Just once. Yeah, the play I was talking about with Dean of wanting to run heavy Shadow of Blazenfet, just because the way toolboxes with Consumed being so insanely strong, I want to play that version of the deck. I really do. It's what Jason Chung preached from day one. Just run Shadow of Blazenfet, man. The card's actually good. The card's too good. That's why it's a red 2-cost non-block. I don't quite believe it. I really think that card could have been yellow, or it could have blocked. It'd be freaking insane. I mean, it'd be good. I don't know about insane. It'd be good. All right, now we've got a Savage Feast play that's a little trapped because it wasn't the Graveling, so we can't cycle it out and put a better card in Arsenal. So that does suck a little bit. That does suck. If we want to get it out of Arsenal here, then we can basically block down with the Endless Maw, let this be a Dread Screamer into Savage Feast, discard the Deadwood, then the Arsenal's random. So even though this gives up the red Dread Screamer for the play, it's kind of the most consistent thing we can do right now. This was a for science Arsenal. We're not calling it wrong, but it definitely doesn't feel great. Definitely has not felt great. We're seeing these Dread Screamers go to the wayside. They're too trapped. But yeah, running like the heavy Shadow Blazenfet and then using your flip turn to banish a yellow Dread Screamer, like, oh god, that just sounds so juicy. It's everything you could want to do and more. Like you're adding to one of the best cards in the Banish Zone you could hope for, and still not turning off Blood Debt. Super unique. Well, this is a bit odd. Definitely a bit odd. I want to slam the Doomsday. Like, there's no way I don't slam the Doomsday in this kind of position. If I block with the Convulsions and the Hooves to just go Boneyard, crack, action point, drop Doomsday, that's likely fine. That's pretty much, I think, the right way to play the turn. The only way it doesn't work is if I exactly banish Swing Big, Savage Feast, and Convulsions. So I don't actually care about this Crush effect. Yeah, it's how I'm going to play the turn. We're going to do it. We're already down 1 Crippling Crush. Generally, the armor, you're trying to save for Crown, Grasp, Hooves, and a card to block 1 Crippling, card plus Carrion to block another Crippling. But they are down 1 Crippling now, so in theory, my armor doesn't block 2 outright, but we need to hope we're playing the game in a way that they just don't send 2 at our face dominated. In theory. Yeah. I think this is fine. Nice. We got him. Shadow's such a good one of. One of, yes. One of, I agree. It's just it's the Jason Chung line, you know, of run it as a 3 of. It's the Hayden Dale line. Run it as a 3 of. You know, there are great players out there, devs themselves, saying that the card is nutso and you should run it in 3. But I am so convinced that I lose games the moment I put like a second copy in my deck. For real. For real. Alright, we finally found the Art of War. Although it's on a super awkward turn now because we can't guarantee that the Savage Feast discards 6. So odd. So actually, yeah, we still kind of need to make that play. We can't. We could slow down, just make it a Hungering Slaughter Beast play, but we are given room there because he just killed the Blazenfet token. I would rather play it this way. We can try to get lucky on the Savage Feast, discard Beast Within. Wouldn't that be nuts? Can make it a little better odds. Banish the Barraging Beatdown. Or play out the Barraging Beatdown, rather. Yeah, I'm ready to get a little lucky, I think. I'm ready to get lucky. If I discard the Guardian, then that's fine. I kind of want it in grave anyway. Getting a little sloppy now because there are 4 misses. And there will be 5 because I'm burning the Barraging. I believe. I believe. Heck yeah, we did it. Milling 1 more Art of War. So we're down 1 Blood Rush, 2 Art of War. Oh, this turn it actually looks insane. This turn is Claw into Boneyard. All right, Savage Feast, you did it. Savage Feast, good card. Why didn't you pitch the red, then the blue? Because I want to play out the Guardian. I'm not trying to get it out. I'm not trying to get it back in deck, rather. The Guardian is, in theory, for matchups like these. You can play slower. You don't need to be peak efficiency every turn. If I'm IPing myself to hold it, at least I played it. Only cleared one miss there, so we're still looking at 4. I have Bravo, Katsu, and Phi ready to roll, but having serious writer's block with Bravo and Katsu. That's a lot of options, my friend. It's a lot of options to have on the table. Normally I'm between like 2 decks when it comes to what I want to play for like a ProQuest season. It's like Levia, obviously, and then like the one choice that's probably better, you know? Alright. In this position, yeah, the only play we have that turns off Blood Debt is the Endless Maw, really. It's going to be a 3-card 7, but that's fine. 3-card 7, fine. Alright, it did turn off Blood Debt, thank God. Huge chance to miss there. If we missed, I don't actually really think we want to take the Consumed line, because Consumed with Guardian not set up, first of all, pretty low value, and then also Blood Debt is just high enough that flipping to Consumed is probably just a lose con. They're not low enough that like one really good Blood Rush 4-wide wins the game. That's okay. We'll just keep playing. First cycle into Bravo is pretty fine. You know, our power cards are there. We have power cards. We will see them. There are 2 more Blood Rushes. What we need, though, is to cycle out the Guardian, put a new card in Arsenal that is better for the Blood Rush draw. So, arguably that last turn was maybe a way to do it. You know, just like pitch the Beast Within, block the Guardian on the hammer, and then Arsenal the, what was it, like a Savage Feast? But because the graveyard was 2 misses, I'd rather the 6s. What are your thoughts on Blood Dripping Frenzy instead of Convulsions in the blue slot? Convulsions is one of the best role-player blues you have in the deck. I would never cut Convulsions. Ever. I think it's probably your... Well, if you count like the Doomsday and Soul Harvest as like their own blue slots, then Convulsions is like your 4th best blue. Well, I could let this hit and just let the Guardian go to grave. That's an option. An option. The other option requires filling the graveyard with 2 misses, exactly 3, just to return the Mark of the Beast. That's fine. I don't hate playing it that way. Everything else is less of a guarantee on this hand, and I'm really just looking to get the Guardian out so I can set up for a better Blood Rush anyway. Yep, we're okay with this. Blood Debt is always going to be off on this turn because of the Mark of the Beast regardless. Blood Dripping Frenzy is just kind of like a greedy blue. If you actively go out of your way to play Blood Dripping Frenzy, it is not going to be the rate that you want. It is not going to be as good as you think. Alright, now we've got room. We can't really set up for a double Blood Rush, because we're going to have to pitch away something to the Guardian and then play out the Boneyard. But we can at least put 1 Blood Rush in Arsenal. That is totally fine. It's a decent spot to be. So even though the Guardian's not blocking too much value, it's how we need to start to play for the Blood Rush turn. So I'm fine with this. There are now 4 misses. Pretty tragic to miss right here, but it's not game over. Exactly 3. About to be 4 guaranteed because the Blood Rush will end up in discard. But yeah, Blood Dripping Frenzy, if you actively keep a hand for that card, then you are not playing the game well. Blood Dripping Frenzy like does not unlock some crazy rate in Levia, and nor should it. It's a blue, right? Like it is a blue. If keeping a blue and like playing a 5-card hand with the blue made your turn nuts, then That'd be some insane power creep, because blues don't generally do that. They're more so going to tip the scales like pitching into second cycle or like some fringe use case. And that's more so where Bludgeoning Frenzy lies. It's got a fringe use case where you can use it. Okay, so it's pretty clearly... well, it's actually not necessarily a pummel. It obviously looks like a pummel because we're going through the first cycle here and we only have seen one. So we don't want to give up the Blood Rush. So we're not going to give up the Blood Rush. Well, that's 2 Blood Rushes on the bottom then. That's pretty unfortunate. Pretty unfortunate. But this turn should, in theory, if everything hits, still end up being a Dread Screamer to swing big turn. That's fine. That's fine. It just means for sure that the power cards are still a ways away. And the pitch stack is looking kind of rough for that now. Because it's Blood Rush, Convulsions, Blood Rush. I don't think I've pitched a 6 in. So that's going to look kind of rough. Yeah, it was Art of War. Art of War, Blood Rush, Convulsions, Blood Rush. That hand sucks. There's now a draw sequence there that is god-awful. So we need to hope we kind of draw like a half of that, not all of it. If they push this to 10 with the crown or with the pummel, then I'm taking 8 down to 15. So basically, if that happens and Dread Screamer misses, I just instant lose the game. That's pretty unfortunate. Pretty unfortunate. Oh, this is actually even worse now because if they do pummel this and they make me discard, I'm discarding another non-6. Yeah, so it is a pummel. So they're making me discard what is not a 6 because I want my turn to beat the Dread into the swing big. So now the graveyard is going to be 5 misses. That's pretty awful. Pretty awful. There just isn't really another way to play it. I believe. This is fine. We were fine. Look at this. Fine. Absolutely fine. Alright, the real problem is this pitch stack is so bad. It was unbelievably forced. Pitch stack was unbelievably forced. These Blood Rushes are stuck. They're not next to 6s. Very rough. Very rough. So the way to change that would have been to just eat that first CNC or like give it Husk or something. And then just force play that one Blood Rush, pitching the other Blood Rush. But then we were in a spot where the arsenal didn't turn off Blood Debt. Then that's a bit of a gamble too. No. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. So the play is going to be flip to redeemed before we get to that point. Since Blood Debt can't be turned off by those hands anyway, we need to flip to redeemed. Oh man, this is the kind of position where I would actually love to play out Soul Harvest. We're not going to. Just come in for 9. Get the Howl out of the deck. Now I'm pitching in 6s. This feels good. It's still a bit off. Still a bit off, though. This is where something that shuffled would be nice. This is true. Shadow Blasphemfet. Once again, not bad. Shadow Blasphemfet. Kind of goated. I wish I had the balls to go back and play Hope Merchant's Hood in every game. Before Crown of Providence came out, that was kind of the Levi thing. Run Hope Merchant's Hood always, because it was your safety net to hopefully, you know, fix a hand that didn't turn off Blood Debt, instant fill graveyard, just give you this fail-safe card, right? It was so good. It really was so good back then. I do miss it. I do miss it. But now Crown of Providence came out, and it's like, in theory, better, right? It can cycle out your arsenal, protect you from CNC, gives you 2 blocks, still graveyard fill, bit of hand fixing, yada yada. But I miss those days. Alright, so We're going to play for the at least 66% of turning off Blood Debt with Deadwood. Like, yeah, are just going to play for that. All right, and we get to Arsenal the Pulping. I forgot the Pulping was there. That's true. We did pitch that. Sweet. Okay, so we can turn off Blood Debt here. We're not flipping into Consumed, but in the off chance that for some reason we do, we might as well banish like a Blood Debt Dread Screamer. Yeah, we should still banish the Dread Screamer, because even if we get back to the Soul Harvest and actually play it out, at that point we'll have flipped to Redeemed, and Redeemed will make it lose Blood Debt anyway. So yeah, let's hit the Dread. Hit the Dread. So pulping into Redeemed is hopefully what's coming up next turn, because just flipping Redeemed is fine, but we want to do that if we've used our hand somehow, like if I've blocked out with my hand, right? And that's not how these last turns looked. We were given hands. Okay, so this is just a buckling blow. Don't have a great read on the Arsenal. Could definitely be that last sink below. That should be in the deck first cycle here. Honestly, forget where they got that Arsenal from. It might have been the card that was intimidated like 3 turns ago on the barraging. I really have not paid attention to the Bravo side of the board. But I do know they pitched their last Crippling Crush next to at least 2 blues. I did see that. So ideally, that's where I like want to save the Carrion Husk for, because they are trying to set up that pitch stack and their life is healthy enough that they can get there. That is definitely within reason. Definitely within reason for our Bravo opponent here. But we might just not be able to hold the Carrion Husk for that, or just use that as the flip turn. I think that's what we'll do. We'll use their crippling turn that they pitch stack to be the redeemed play. So I'll give up Carrion Husk here then. Seems okay. I can't bank on the pulping being the right play. I guess I could pretend if I give the Carrion Husk and then lead with the Dread Screamer, pitching Wrecker, and then try on the pulping. Even if it doesn't hit the Dominate, then I'm still kind of coin flipping, like keeping the Slithering for that turn to look any good. The more consistent play is just make it at 10 damage with the Graveling. Yeah, I'm going to save the pulping till post-redeemed. Gonna do it. Isn't Deep-Rooted Evil the next card? I have no idea. It's less about what the next card is, though, and whether or not this is the sink below. Because if it is the sink below, then that traps the pulping regardless. I do think the next hand is the Deep-Rooted Evil Art of War hand, though, isn't it? I forget. Ah, look at that. It was the sink below. All right, the last sink below. Glad we didn't make the pulping play. The last one right there. Okay, yep. It's the Deep-Rooted Evil Art of War Blood Rush. So we actually drew this in a decent sequence here. The problem is we know that saying Banish Go Again on the Deep-Rooted is going to draw Blood Rush and I believe the Yellow Dread Screamer. Which is not the worst, actually. Force the hand. Yeah. That's not the worst. We can play this hand, say Go Again, play out the Deep-Rooted Evil, then play the Dread Screamer. In theory, hit another Go Again. Into like Claw, Arsenal, Blood Rush. That should feel fine, I think. Although that's if I click the Dread Screamer to the top of the deck. I forget. It was Dread Screamer and an Endless Maw pitched next to each other. I forget which one I said is on top. We'll find out. The other option is I just say buff and like Go Again. Just play out this Blood Rush. I know I'll draw at least a yellow and a blue, and then can go Claw, Claw, Pulping. It gets value out of the Blood Rush. It presents lethal in theory. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just do that. I think I prefer that over the Art of War Deep-Rooted, because that would be 6, 12, 15, if that's the Dread Draw. In theory. Nope, let's do it this way. I'm in. Oh, there was a Convulsions in the middle of that. I thought it was the Blood Rush into the Dread. Okay, cool. This is fine. We get to just do Claw, Claw, Pulping, and then Flip Redeemed. That seems good. Claw, Claw, Flip Redeemed. Next hand is a Blood Rush hand. Our recursion pieces, like Deep-Rooted Evil and Howl from Beyond, are in theory safe. You have to pay resources per claw. Yes, they do cost 2, which is where these cards went. This is fine. We said go again on the Art of War. So right now the pitch stack has like 3 6s in a row. Should be fine to do it that way. It's actually very surprising that, I think we're just going to lose to Deck Out because the recursion pieces just, they're not really enabled by this sideboard plan. You need, like, Unworldlies, right? You need, this list runs 0 Unworldlies. 0, not even as blues, and none siding in as reds. So even running like Howl and Deep-Rooted, you don't actually get value out of them. So we're seeing that right here. Like, in theory, we have the damage, but we have no ways to actually get this damage where it needs to be. There's no Unworldlies in this deck list. Very suspicious. So this only should come in for 6. So I need to let them know that it's only going to come in. This will only come in for 6. It's bugged. It's only going to come in for 6, but we're doing this to get the recursion pieces where I want them, and then just clear misses. Really not super important. Fix in manual mode. Yeah, this is only for 6, but the idea is we need to be able to play like the Howl and Deep-Rooteds, which I actually don't think is possible. Manual mode. Go to options and enable manual mode. Add life to yourself. It won't let me do it. To your life. Only mine. Wait, actually, I can't do it to myself either. Oh, can you not do this? Is it disabled? Oh, dang. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Okay, never mind. Not working for me either. But still try. Why is it coming in for 6? Because we're redeemed. Oh, okay, it did work. No. Don't. Oh, wait, actually, yeah, he did it right. Yeah, yep. Yep, that's correct. So he's taking 4. But it's not a real 4 damage. So that should work out. Yeah, they don't say blood debt anymore. Whoa! Where'd my arsenal go? It's still there, right? Yeah, I think it's still there. Oh my god. Oh! Can't actually win. There's no way to actually loop recursion with this list. So I'm telling people, you don't just add Deeper Evil and Howl. That's not the solve. It's a package beyond that. It's a package beyond. Yep, they can just take it. Take everything. Can't take this one. This one they do need to give at least 1 card on. At least 1. Just 1 card. It's fine. 1 card is fine. There might be a world where No, there's no way. There's no way, right? Because even if they return with Anothos now, I have to give up 1 card plus Grasp. But this should be the Crippling Crush hand, I do believe. So I have to give my cards on it anyway. Yep. There's the Crippling Crush hand. And would you believe it? Mark Johnson does not run Reckless Swing. He says it's the worst card in the deck. So he doesn't run Reckless Swing. You know what absolutely wins the game in this spot? Reckless Swing. I mean, we would have had to like pitch it a bit differently. Right, make sure that there was still a 6 in there instead of one of these filler blues. That's it. I don't know, Mark. I don't know, Mark. I don't know. Got some problems, Mark. I'm just saying. Got like this many problems, Mark. Just this many in the list, but it's fine. It's fine. You can't just add recursion with no way to kickstart the engine. Right, like this list doesn't even have Shadow Blazafet, so you can't even guarantee that you get them in Banish to get your first use out of them at all. GG's. GG's. In the end, every Blood Rush did play for at least... Well, no, the first one did miss on the draw. So the first one, drawing double reds, did mean it only dealt +4. So that's like a bit of lost damage, but, you know, that one's expected. You can't have perfect plays throughout. It feels easier if you have the hooves. It feels... Okay. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. If I roll scabs, I also lose more. It's not... Could also win more, but also lose more. Taking scabs in this matchup is not right. I'm telling you right now. The problem with this matchup is not being able to actually use the recursion engine with the way this list is built. That's the problem. Because if there are hands where I'm only spending like 1 card from deck to loop the Howl and Deeper Evil, then, you know, that just eats 12 damage and I spend 1 card. Eat 12 damage. Even, like, 3 Unworldly Blues do that. Obviously, you add the Unworldly Reds, it does that for sure. But that's, yeah. That's more so the problem. You don't actually need Scabskins to win this matchup. You're not supposed to. Maybe that's why Mark had it sideboarded to run Scabs. His plan in this matchup is just run Scabskins and win that way. But the way he had it here is Scabs plus Grasp. And in his deck tech, he does talk about pretty much never rolling Scabskins. So, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. Alright. That was a game. Need to tell him I played you? Yep. Go for it, buddy. It's on stream. Streamed 2. Stream 2. GG's. Alright, I guess we just gotta... We can't play it the exact same. We can't play it the exact same. The list is not really built to play recursion. It's not. Good luck, have fun. We'll just see, like, kind of a Lexi plan and then shift it for Azalea. Azalea Guardian is pretty good over the pulping. Into Azalea, Scowling can be okay. Because some of their only, like, bigger turns come from, like, leading with a Ravenous Rabble, trying to go for a wide turn. So you can use Scowling, like, specifically on those plays and get pretty good value. But Crown also saves you from Seekers, or Seek and Destroy, rather. So I think the more consistent play is always Crown, but this is something that the Runaways test team was on and off about, whether Scowling was better into Azalea or not. Lucas said it absolutely was. I was more on the Crown train, but let's do it. Let's try it with Crown. And it's actually the Great Bow Azalea. Okay, this matchup is normally pretty okay. I do like being able to roll Scab Skins in this matchup, but we don't have that with Grasp. So let's see if we can cycle this hand at all. Not really. So let's at least get the non-block out. And call it good. Only early playable here is the Mark the Beast. It could also just be pitched into Claw if they were presenting anything more than this. They're not, though. They're not, so let's make sure we get at least 1/6 in Graveyard, potentially for later, and then if we flip, Dread Screamer is more valuable than the blue Endless. And then just play out the Mark. That's it. Or try to hit Scabs, my brother, and go Mark Graveling. We'll have windows. Card is not trapped. Maybe the play that last game was just pretend that Soul Harvest worked as intended. Yeah, it comes in for 12. What are you talking about? New Horizon? I mean, this is the Great Bow build. This is pretty standard. They always run New Horizon in this build. Alright, awkward. Awkward. This hand doesn't block super well. The curve it wants to play for is just Dread Screamer into Graveling and Arsenal the Art of War. So we'll see if that's possible. Probably not, because this is going to force a discard, right? That has a name counter. Whoo, baby. Here it comes. 13 on this drill shot with an Inertia, Blood Rot, and Deadeye effect. That's pretty annoying. That is pretty annoying. Fully blocking this with armor gets pretty good value, though, because it's denying 4 hit effects. 4 hit effects is a lot for an Azalea deck. Normally they're stacking like 2 to 3. To actually have like 4 legit hit effects at once kind of makes you want to block with armor, not gonna lie. Kind of makes you want to block with armor. We'd be giving up 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's a freaking lot. It is a lot. But it denies 4 hit effects. Don't really care about most other hit effects coming out of the Azalea. It's really just the red in the ledger. This matchup tends to be fine because compared to a normal Azalea, this list needs fuller hands. Because they don't get the free draw off of the Death Dealer to kind of like push playoff Arsenal and still have a good turn. Oh, okay, it's got piercing on it. Oh, I forgot about that. Well, damn, so now it actually would demand every single bit of armor, rather than leaving 1/2 block up. That becomes a lot more demanding now, doesn't it? A lot more demanding. You know, for science, I'm a little interested. For science, I'm interested enough. Let's see it. I want to sink. We're fine. We're fine. This will be interesting to look back on. Also, playing this aggressive early is a bit awkward because we just pitched Doomsday to the bottom on turn 0. So it's like, where's the payoff for ramping Blood Debt like this? It's really not going to happen. Which flip should you aim for if you're trying to run recursion? Pretty much redeemed every time. Consume doesn't actually let you loop recursion because things will get banished face down, right? So you have a howl set up, you have deep rooted set up, but you only get to play them once. Whereas if you are redeemed, then you can, in theory, kind of do what that last game had set up in the end game, where you flip redeemed, you've got all these recursion pieces in your graveyard already, so they don't get hurt by the flip. Well, this is pretty annoying again. Pretty annoying again. We're a little insulated in if they say red or blue, we could still just make it a boneyard turn. Maybe the play is block with the Dread Screamer. Whether they say, what I say, red or blue? I meant yellow or blue. Whether they say yellow or blue, most likely blue, we can still force the Art of War turn. Pitching the Blood Rush, like banishing the other half of it, and then going, hopefully, like, you know, attack into claw, reset arsenal. That's okay. It could also just be give up 2 cards and make it a boneyard turn, and that's it. Pushing Blood Rush to the bottom. I think I'm kind of into the for science plays this game. So let's just see which they say. Should be a little safe against either here. What card will they name? Cannot pitch 3. Makes sense. All right. Well, we didn't draw yellow anyway to pay into claw, which I guess is the same as not drawing a blue. Both were the same this turn. But we also didn't draw a resource to, like the yellow to potentially drop the Endless Maw either. So most damage I can do this turn is either pitch the entire hand for Endless or just play out the Boneyard and then have 2 pretty good turns back to back in theory. You know, playing out like a Endless Maw next turn, saving the Dread for the like Graveling other half of it. I think that's fine. Let's just do this. The banish there is pretty nice because Blood Debt was already off. And this also withholds information. They don't know what my next play could be. In theory, it could be swing big plus yellow. Could just drop 8 damage out of nowhere here. Could be, could be. But Endless Maw is really good for protecting from red in the ledger, generally. You know, if you get a singular action point, sure. Endless Maw is great. They're also sacking a Hornet Sting before they could potentially mess up a Consume flip, so that's interesting. They're looking specifically for information on either using Azalea or Sandscour. They don't reveal an arrow, which is nice. Cool. We have our endless turn in theory. Endless turn. So this is the Blind Azalea. Since it bottomed the increase of the tension, it is just a blue infecting shot. Not bad, just damage. Just a lot of damage, though, to be fair. And a Seek and Destroy. Well, it is dominated, so if it's dominated, I might as well get the most damage out of this hand that I can, which at this point is blocking with Endless and then just going Dread into Command and Conquer. They won't have an arsenal. That's fine. I can't pay for Dread into Endless because of the graveyard, so that's pretty much all there is. A double blue play there might change how I want to do that. Maybe it's just block 1, give up the Dread. Still pay through 1 Blood Rot. This is fine. Fine. Alright. Taking damages. No. Alright, well, in theory, this is the flip turn. Let's do it. This hand is either pray for scabs a bit or just flip. Because that's all that's really happening here. And more likely just make it the flip turn. It's really not that bad. Really not that bad. We're going to be forced to at least present a Slithering Shadowpede. And in this kind of position, taking this much damage lower to make the flip happen is actually fine because we're going to keep 2 cards to throw 6 and then 1 card for Arsenal anyway, so it's not like we can't do anything with this hand, so we need to block with it and then still want to flip. We don't need to worry about that. So this is just threatening the inertia, so no longer do we have the Arsenal play available. So the plan of like block 1 and still flip doesn't really do anything here. Because then it just looks like a really inefficient turn. I mean, the real payoff is just take it, hit scabs, and then it's Savage Feast, Claw, and flip all in once. It looks pretty good. It does look pretty good. Or if I don't want to flip, I can full keep the hand to pay into Convulsions and then Slithering. The problem with that, though, is it's a really weak 4-card hand just for 7, and I'll be at 17 without armor, so I won't have good control over life thresholds beyond that. I'm going to take the risk this game. This game's all about science. I'm going to take it, and we're going to hit scabs. And even if we don't hit scabs, at least we flipped. Let me click this button. Come on. Let me click this button. Come on, baby. No! The worst case scenario! The worst case scenario! Ah, okay, it's fine. It's fine. The other option was full block, and then, like, still just take 9 blood debt. You know, that was something. That was a choice. Oh my god. Me and Scabskins, dude. Me and Scabskins. Inertia happened. I'm telling you, I am really not meant to be a brute player. It ain't me. It was not meant to be me. It just never was. Never was. At least we have the Endless Maw. So that as our singular game action next turn is fine. But now we most likely just, you know, start to lose. Harsh reality. That was a take 10 down to 17 and flip, so we took 4. So that was a 14 damage take to present nothing. Seems pretty legit. Seems pretty legit. We're hit by inertia anyway, so all these cards are going to the bottom. We don't get to set up a new Dread and Arsenal or anything. Rip. When you flip, your hand gets banished. No, that was inertia. Inertia says destroy inertia, put all hands from your hand and arsenal to the bottom of the deck. That was inertia last turn. Yep. You know, I'm interested if, like, that really was wrong on that Scab's turn. I think it honestly felt pretty right. I was fine taking that line. Even me, who I never want to touch Scabskins. That play is fine. Mostly because the hand just doesn't do anything. The other choice legit was just block 6, present 9, and take 9 damage. And not flip, and just take 9. Maybe we were ahead enough that that's just okay. That is just okay. But, you know, half the time, the turn is a little bit forced into that direction anyway, because Scabs just returns the singular action point, and you just, okay, present 6, whatever, still flip. The actual 1 in 6, you know, the 1 in 6, that's what's going to get you. No, I can't Blood Rush. No. We're also out of Endless Maws. So my hope here is to block like this and then use Pitch Slithering into Boneyard, Arsenal Blood Rush, and Prey. That seems okay. I think the Prey angle there seems pretty decent. This deck can brick. It can brick, I believe. If all they do is come in for 6 damage somehow, then we're fine. Even 7. I'll accept 7. That's a 4 plus a pump. Oh, actually, I'm at 5 life. Oh, so there's a little more play. A little more play to that. It's possible. A little more play. Then I keep a 2-card hand. I Blood Rush, Claw, smack them with one of these puppies. That's a game. Oh, they have a knock face up. This is true. This is true. Guaranteed dominate. Okay, but even then, how tall can it be? Let's find out. How tall will this attack be? If I'm not dead, you know, that's step number 1. Not dead. That'd be cool. That would be nice. It is most likely a red in the ledger, though, so Blood Rush is off the menu. Because why wouldn't it be in this position? If they can't kill me, then they want to go for what stumps me here. But maybe they go for a Sleep Dart. Maybe they're like, oh, hey, we win because he can't turn off Blood Debt. They go for Sleep Dart, and then I roll him with a Blood Rush. That's still possible. But, looks like it is going to... What? No, that's not right. What just happened here? What? There's no way that's what they wanted to do. You don't pass? What just happened? What is going on? There's no way they're actually trying to pass, right? This action has go again. They can just shoot the red. What is happening? I guess I'll ask to chat. No attack? What's going on? Don't do this. Don't do this for stream. I know that I did roll a 1 and I did pass turn and take 17 damage total, or what was it, 14 damage total. I know I did that, but you know that was my that was a Scab's decision. You know, opponent, you don't need to make the same choice. You don't need to make the same choice, opponent. Don't roll a 1. Just attack. If he says no one more time, we'll play it. I mean, these games don't matter. There's no ladder on Talishar, you know? It's all for science. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, he's gonna attack. There we go. Do it, brother. You got this. All right, this is where that piercing came up big. This is where piercing changed everything. I wanted to have 2 block up. That was the idea. I wanted a 2 block up, and now we don't get it. We don't get it. I'm forced to let the red hit. That's a big problem. Piercing, man. You know, honestly, there was not another opportunity for the armor to actually block as much value as it did on like turn 2 or whatever it was, because that truly denied 4 hit effects. But at the same time, I did just lose my ability to ever block the thresholds that matter. So that sucked. That was pretty unfortunate. Alright, and now it's just over. And now it's just over. Come on, opponent. Just attack. You got this. And there it is. There it is. So giving up the armor definitely hurt the last decision point of the game, really. But, you know, this game was more effectively, I think... Yeah, thrown, I guess, by choice, but I don't think that was the wrong choice. GG's. I don't actually think Scabs was the wrong choice there. It was just a risk. It was just going to be a risk at every point. Thanks for the game. No problem, Tubby. Sorry about the one. It happens, dude. I played into it. I really don't think it was wrong. But that's the dice. I cannot touch a die and make it roll more than a 1. It's not possible. Throwing all the armor was definitely the issue. Not really. I don't think that was the core issue. Because in terms of denial of the Blood Rot, Inertia, Drill Shot, and Deadeye, if I take any bit of damage that turn, then I don't really play. And I'm giving the Azalea massive amounts of room, because I was set up pretty decently to have like 2 decent turns back-to-back, right, off of Arsenal in hand. So the momentum was like very much in my favor. Very much in my favor. And that's how you really beat the Azalea, is you just don't let them play dump pump hands with arrows. Dump pump hands with arrows. If they do that, then, you know, armor's only going to help you on 1 turn anyway. Armor only helps you on 1 of those turns anyway. So it can either be the early game or it can be the mid game, but you just make your choice. Your armor is going to protect you from 1 of their insane just dump pumps with arrows turns. I don't think it was really wrong to play it that way. The one harm was the piercing denied 1 armor plus card to block a 5 later, which is a big deal. Like, that one in particular is a big deal. Because generally that's how armor gets used, is like 1 big drop and then 1 critical arrow. So the piercing taking away the choice of 1 more spot to cover an arrow was a big deal. But this list in theory is running a Sink Below and a Guardian. So there are worlds where the 1 armor block doesn't matter and we still have the like 1 ability to block a final arrow. It just didn't happen. Didn't see the Sink, didn't see the Guardian. So, unfortunate. Unfortunate. But it's within the deck to actually play around that, I think. Oh well. Levia is Levia. Good luck, have fun. We'll do 1 last game, because this is pretty miserable so far. Alright, I'm convinced that the sideboard plans are not mapped out correctly with armor, because there's no reason you'd want to take Grasp into Dromai. Should be no reason. And actually, yeah, this is just not fixed up here. This should be fine. Yep. Turn 0, all we care about is graveyard fill. We can get 2 cards in the graveyard right now, so let's do it. That is fine. They okay. This should be a win. You'd think. You'd think. But it is always within my capabilities to lose a game. They're always going to make Ash anyway in this kind of position because of Seekers, so it doesn't super matter that it was a sync. If anything, I don't mind seeing the sync out early. Although it was a sync plus a sigil, and they're not making Ash. Okay, that got interesting. But our hand is decent. Pop, play Bloodrush Beast Within, have an Endless Maw, graveyard's at 2. Can't miss, because there's only going to be 2 misses. Dread Bloodrush, sick. Seems sick. Another sigil. Sure. There actually is a world where they don't swing with a dragon. They just develop and pass. So if that's the case, then, you know, not blocking the CNC is going to look pretty bad. But because I don't want to basically say, oh, you summoned Caloria, well, shit. Now I have to give up my Bloodrush Beast Within turn. I would rather hold it. Would rather hold it. But there's definitely a world where they just make a dragon pass, and this is going to look funny. Okay, well, this looks fine. Little sad, though, because into Dromai, you don't really get great husk value, so there's a world where I just husk on the Nourishing, and it feels okay. But I do want the Command and Conquer out of hand in this scenario for the graveyard fill and just the guarantee on the beast. So we're going to let him have it. We're going to let him have it. Get your intellect. Alright, give me a yellow and a blue. Never mind, we got triple reds. We got triple reds, baby. It is within my grasp to lose any game. I'm telling you right here, right now. Within my grasp. Well, this can be claw into swing big. It could be roll scabs, lead with Savage Feast, try to draw a freaking blue. That would be nice. That would be nice. Oh, I'm so checked out. I sometimes just can't do anything right. The deck just doesn't do it. I feel it though. For once, the gamblers will work right. Surely not a 1 into a 1. Okay, okay. Phew. Here we are. Here we are. A yellow. Yellow's actually totally fine here. It could either pay into the Endless Maw, or we could just slam the Art of War just to dig for resources, which is not a bad idea. Be looking to draw, in a perfect world, a yellow and a blue to pay for Claw Endless. In a perfect world. In a perfect world. But it's Dromai. You don't really need to burn through threat that fast. I don't mind just making this swing big, actually. Just drop the swing big. That means our Scabskin's turn ended up being 19 damage. We didn't swing claws. Oh well. Still a 19 damage Blood Rush. Or no, sorry, 18 damage Blood Rush. We're saving the Endless Maw, not tipping into Blood Debt just yet. Maybe we can get another turn of playing swing bigs or like a CNC out of the way, which would be cool. But to burn Art of War and draw like double reds again is just like, what on earth would you do? What on earth would you do? Play Art of War, banish, draw double reds. What would you do? So we'll just take a guaranteed line. 18 damage, it's what I expect out of a Blood Rush, whatever. Redline Dromai doesn't block wells, which is, I mean, also true. And yet they did sack a Blaze on the block just for a Quicken, which is a bit odd. Definitely a bit odd. This card says 4 if you attack with it. It says 2 if you block with it. One of those numbers is better than the other, generally. Two back-to-back endless turns should feel pretty good. They are not setting a Miragai, which is, unless it's double Miragai, which is also interesting. Generally, stacking Miragai for like a double threat turn is pretty big. They didn't go for it. So technically to block with Endless Maw and then play Dread into Graveling was 1 more damage. You could argue there's like slightly more guarantee by doing it this way, where I know I get to hold the blue now for the Endless Maw next turn. I don't mind that line of thinking. But more so, burning the Endless Maw, even though it's burning the Blue Dread, even though it's 1 more damage, sacks a really great way to clear Miragai later. Like, I actually do want the blue Dread Screamer around. It has better uses. Alright, and then sure enough, we didn't draw a blue, so now it looks quite nice to have held the blue there. You mean not every deck has a hand of blue block force? Not for long, at least. Okay, so they naturally drew a Miragai. It was a Sigil and Arsenal. Interesting plays. So without another blue, it looks a little awkward. Especially since if we go Dread Boneyard, then there goes a lot of the graveyard. It's still going to be worth it, though. It has to be the play. Just because we want to clear the Miragai. And this does not fill graveyard, so that also feels a bit suspicious. It's okay. We're leaving the graveyard with at least 3. They are an aggressive slanted deck, so they will attack into us, you would think. Just in case I want to flip Consumed, I do care about banishing the Dread. Which I did hit. I don't generally go Consumed in this match. But then again, Dean was telling us he goes Consumed in like every single game. And also talking to Nitya, who made top 4 at her nationals. Oh, wonderful. Nitya, who made top 4 at her nationals with Levia, she said she'll go Consumed every game. Even into Fatigue. And just plays for like a Hydra game plan instead, which is pretty legit. So, may have to change things. Alright, it should be pretty free to just block with a barraging here. Just save some life, get the graveyard going. No popper, but it doesn't seem like anything's going to get developed. It's probably just a, Ravenous, I don't know, Blaze, Ashwing, Arsenal turn. That'd be decent. But there could be a dragon develop here. Another Miragai. Okay, so that is 1 Miragai pitched, 1 Miragai played, and now the second one slamming the board right here, right now. Little annoying, not gonna lie. Little annoying. Especially since we're in a spot where clearing Miragai is not easy. Not easy. One option would be to try to roll Scabs. Throw the... Oh, well, I can't even throw like the blue Endless and Miragai and then red Endless. Face, we already gave up on the resource card for that. Also, the graveyard wouldn't work. So I think we just have to ignore the Miragai for this turn. Play out the Endless Maw and then Arsenal the Blood Rush and clear it next turn with a Claw. Not the worst. Not the worst here. They are going to get an extra 2 damage through. Which I guess is the same, effectively, if I had a popper. Because I'd be taking this damage just to pop the next one. So it's actually the same damage taken, whether I had a popper or not. The difference is an Ashwing sticks. Okay, so not that bad. Not that bad. The Endless could miss, though. There are going to be 3 misses. Rough. Would swapping out Husk for Tunic be a good play against Dromai? I don't think so. Barraging Claw Maragai? No, I've got too much Blood Debt for that. I still want to take the chance of turning off Blood Debt. Maragai can stick for a turn in, like, the red line list. It's not the biggest deal. The worst thing they can do is drop a Kyloria on you. They're not big dragon. They're not going to hit you with, like, a Necria or a Tomultai. So you don't have to clear Maragai. You want to, but you don't have to. And the dragon board isn't that insane where even if they find like a Chromai next turn, I'm going to eat too much damage for it. But no, I would not take Tunic into Dromai. Husk still protects you from like a CNC because Dromai still plays to that curve a lot of the time where they'll like start with red and then try to smack you with the CNC and they get some ash generation out of it. So they do still want to take those lines if they've got them. They can also hit you with a Nourishing, and in a pivotal moment, denying that hit effect is pretty strong. And of course, it's also buying you 6 life every time. And since you don't have Null Rune into Dromai, you really do value the block 6. You know, you don't want to just, oh, they only threw 6 on a Nourishing. You don't want to just take that, generally. Like, you do end up taking quite a bit of trickle to this stuff. That is it, unless it's a snaps play. So I probably do want to block this, only because they have no ash right now, so this hit effect is quite relevant. Hit effect is pretty important for them, in theory, since they have no ash. So I can give up the Husk on this, denies 5 value. Oh, they're changing their play. That's also fine. Sure. So they're instead going to play it this way, still go to 0 ash. It's also fine. And not force the Husk out of me. Okay, cool. What's your game plan against Iris? Go face and roll scabs whenever you have extra cards. That's it. Easy. Easy peasy. If they're running Lost in Thought, then I don't mind just blocking with scabs right now because I won't really be holding crown scabs to deny the 4 block on like a Dust Up or a Snatch. Haven't seen a Lost in Thought. I'm pretty sure the Redline lists still run it though. But using scabs to block on the Azalea right now buys some buffer because there is going to be a lot of Arcane in the upcoming turns. I think I'll pretty much make like the exact same choice next turn though. So I don't need to do it now. And we'll save it. Just in case there is the snap. Or not the snap, the Whoa, dude, what on earth are you doing? You're just letting me pop Maragai? Holy moly. Well, that was wrong. I will let that happen though. Okay, Talishar opponent. Okay, Talishar opponent. Yep, sure. This turns off Blood Debt, and we're really looking for just resources for the claws anyway. So, like, it's not going to be great, but a blue-red draw still pays for Claw. Best case would be drawing, like, a 2-cost, and a 1-cost and a blue. Lets it be Claw 1-cost. It's not perfect, but we didn't expect it to be perfect. We led with a yellow, after all. But we didn't have a way to turn off Blood Debt, so did have to kind of go for it. So let's say buff and banish. The ceiling is a 1-cost and a blue. Come on. Not quite it. Not quite it. This is just Claw then. With Blood Debt off. With another Blood Rush ready. That's fine. They do run it. They do run Lost in Thought against, or in Redline. Yeah, I would think so. It's an Ash positive card, right? It doesn't cost you an Ash. If anything, it just makes you an Ash and hopefully trips up your opponent. So we missed the ceiling, but we kind of had the like medium expected outcome here of just being able to pay for Claw, double yellow, red blue. Double red wouldn't have done it. Red yellow wouldn't have done it. So I guess count your blessings, you know. Can't have it all. Can't have it all. The good news is we know we're not dealing with a Miragai for the rest of the game, basically, because they pitched one on like turn 2. So we'll see it on like turn 16. That's about it. I do think my Dromai opponent is just a little bit newer or something, though. They are making pretty much like the... In terms of like weighing value of like what's worth more to protect in that last turn, right? Like, is it, you know, swing Azalea, make sure that can't pop, that can't get popped, or swing Miragai, make sure that can't get popped. Clearly, it was Miragai was the better choice. So, we'll roll scabs for style points, get the ones out of the way, or rather waste my 6s. Both are options. And then we'll have to call it after this. I have to go drive to a neighboring town because my town doesn't have a pet store. And I need to go buy dry cat food and mealworms. It's going to be a fun day. Can't wait. Spend money on pets. But it's okay. They return, they give me love in exchange. Alright, good enough time as ever. You can just use Husk on this. Don't care. In theory, it was going to be hard to fight through and find Husk guaranteed value over the next couple turns because of the arcane damage anyway. We have a Blood Rush play, so might as well use it. This might be the legendary Blood Rush and Flip turn, which is nuts. Well, actually, the opponent is changing their pitch. They are going to... Actually, they can't CNC because they don't have a flame scale, so I'm not sure what they're doing here. Making a lot of on-the-fly decisions. In my head, I did notice that there was no flame scale for the CNC line. Opponent did not yet. Stream gives you love and you don't have to feed us. That's true, Josh. That's a great point. Isn't it supposed to be like you feed me or something, though? Isn't that supposed to happen? Where's your channel membership, Josh? What the hell? Where's like the half a coffee you're supposed to give me a month? Come on. No, there's no obligation, of course. It's not supposed to. But I did think you had a channel membership. Oh, it's a big old 0, ain't it? Big old 0. Okay. This is likely Blood Rush and Flip. Blood Rush and Flip, let's go! The best turns. We are out of Blood Rushes to make it a 4 wide in theory this game. But we did catch them on a non-block now. So they probably just fold over and die, depending on resource draws here. That would do it. This is 18 damage, Arsenal CNC. It's the highest damage I can do this turn. Seems pretty good. Oops. They do just lose to it, though. They just die. Even if it's a D-React, either line wins it, so let's just do this one. Turn off Blood Debt. GG's. Oops, almost hit the good luck, have fun. Alright, well, apparently that's what it takes to win a game on Levia. Hero's insane, she's the best deck in the game. I think this is pretty clear after the games today. But you know, she is a good deck. She's a good deck, and I actually have a video coming out, hopefully Thursday. I need to get it approved, funny enough, by... I have a sponsor, a clothing sponsor, that needs to approve my next video because I have a, like, paid-for ad in it, which is pretty sick. So that video is done. It's pending approval. But it is about the topic of, is Levia good? So I guess the answer will be in that video. Look forward to it. Hopefully coming out tomorrow, if they approve it in time, or Friday. But that's going to be it for live streams this week because I have a bunch to get done still for the Canadian Nats event this weekend. I do still need to go pick up my passport. It's waiting for me in Buffalo, of all places, which is like a 2-hour drive. Then I need to go drive to Toronto. I'll be staying with Flake. Can't wait. It's gonna be fun. He already sounds like an insane host because he asked me. This is the first time ever where he's like, "What snacks do you want? What drinks do you want? I'll have them stocked for you." I've never had anyone who hosts go out of their way and ask that. So love you, Flake. Appreciate that a lot. And it'll be a fun weekend, but it's gonna be a busy weekend. And speaking of the busyness, I need to get back to some of that right now. So thank you all for tuning in. The Canadian Nat stream is going to be on the Red Riot Games channel. Not on this channel, not even on Savage Feats, but it will be on Red Riot Games. So I will see you all there. And yeah, have a good weekend, folks. Or middle of the week. What is this? Woo! Step, arms, spin. What? Woo! And slide and tango. 1, 2, 1, 2.